Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Off the Shelf Reviews podcast. I'm Gary.
I'm Ian.
And today, for the first time on the podcast, we have Justine.
Hi.
And today, we're going to talk about latest film news, some trailers, before we move into the main section of the podcast, which today, we're going to be talking about females and women in action movies.
Yes.
And for the final part of the podcast, we'll be answering your questions. So first up, Ian, what have you been up to?
Well, that's the thing. My life's just been pretty normal in the last couple of months. I seem to do the same thing every month. I work and edit. But before I get into too much boring details of my life, I've got two things I've got to bring up at the start. And I've got to do it now because obviously I've got my beer and I'll probably forget doing this later. So the first shout out I've got to give out is to my buddy Andy, who's asked me to just put out an advertisement, shall we say. He's got a podcast of his own going up onto Facebook and some other website, Podcast Bean. He showed it to me. I don't know technical stuff.
We'll put a link in the description below. Yeah. Andy, who was in the last podcast with us.
Yeah, his podcast, he's a big Games Workshop, Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar fan, and he's just started a podcast called Sustain Fire, which is basically him and a couple of guys he used to work with, sitting down and just talking about 40k. Now, obviously, I don't know what our audience is into. I'm a bit of a 40k fan. I mean, Gary plays board games.
But yeah, I know of it.
And so if you're into Games Workshop, into 40k, into painting, modelling, that kind of stuff, check it out. Might be some interest there for you. Give them a shout, say Ian sent you. And this is just a shout out now. By the time this podcast goes up, it should be June the 3rd. Now, a little birdie told me through the power of Facebook that one of our subscribers and one of our patrons, it's her birthday on June the 2nd. So, from everyone here at Off the Shelf Reviews, I just want to shout out to Jessie Merriweather and just wish her a very happy birthday. But at the same time, back to my so-called life. Editing, working. Obviously, I bought my arcade Xbox recently.
Yeah.
For 150. Oh man, I've been playing a lot of just random nostalgic shit. I've been busting my way through Ghouls and Ghosts. That's been kicking my ass. I've been playing Mario. That's been kicking my ass. I did start Final Doom. And the game crashed. And so I had to start the game all over again. I'm kind of upset about that. But at the same time, I get to play Doom a lot more.
But then you're going to run that risk. Not so much these days with emulation and things like that.
Yeah, that's the problem with emulation. You get the issues with it. But it's fine. It's fine because I like the whole nostalgic view. Yes, there's been a lot of new games coming out. I did see Prey came out and got some good reviews. But,
yeah.
I've been keeping up with Hawaii Five-0, Gary.
Didn't that end yet?
No,
my God.
It's been renewed for a new season once this one ends.
Does it just start like the very next week? Like from one season to the next?
Yeah, they've got to film it like any normal TV show, but some of the episodes they've had recently...
Feels like EastEnders where it just keeps going.
It's been hitting some harsh issues. There was a episode where Gracie Park, the female 5-0 officer, she had to deal with some sex traffickers. And so it's all an emotional point of view from her side when they're picking up these young girls who have been obviously attacked and grabbed and kidnapped. She kicked the ass off of a lot of guys. Good. She purposely made one of the criminals pick up his knife just so she could beat it out of him again.
Good.
You know what? I tell you what,
Ian.
I
bet deserved.
I bet that episode of Hawaii Five-0 was actually probably better than a recent film that I watched.
Okay.
Probably because I was super excited for it and I really shouldn't have been.
Oh, yeah.
Because who really gets excited nowadays for a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? Who? Anyone? Anyone?
I do, but that's because I still need to see Jean-Claude Van Damme, the movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
It was a very... It made you look at him in an entirely different light, especially after his long absence from movies and then sort of coming back with that one. It was interesting.
Those Coors Light adverts made me look at him in a different light.
For sure.
When he's doing the splits on 2 blocks of ice.
Yeah.
But what film did you watch, Gary?
I watched Kickboxer Vengeance.
You were excited about this.
Yeah, which is it's probably like the 5th Kickboxer movie, I think it is.
I need to watch it because I saw the trailer.
Yeah, the trailer was better than the film.
That was really...
Yeah, now I was excited because I thought that somehow it was a continuation of the original film, where
Really?
Van Damme was going to be the character from that film, but now living out there and training the next person. But it's not. It is a
No, they've lost
remake.
their heart.
It's an entire remake of the first
the
film.
remakes, they haven't got the heart in them, have they?
It didn't have the soundtrack. It didn't have the
Yeah.
cinematography. It didn't have the soul.
Didn't
That
have the-
still makes Kickboxer, you
Yeah.
know, not just a good Van Damme film, but
It's iconic.
actually a very good film.
Did Jean-Claude Van Damme in the new Kickboxer make the young lad he's training do a dance in a bar?
No,
and
but
fight
he took him
guys?
to a bar to which there was a fight. He did.
Yeah.
There was the training
Same
montage.
old.
But the one thing that made me laugh is that the new guy does the splits, and Van
Right.
Damme looks at him, and he's just like, "Yeah, whatever," and
Yeah.
walks off. And I was just like, "Yeah,
that's
it's
good.
just."
funny, yeah.
As
It's
long
like-
as the poke fun
There was
at
just a few
themselves.
good moments,
Yeah.
but what I was interested in was seeing Batista. You
As-
know,
as
fresh
Tom
out
Poe.
of Guardians of the Galaxy, playing Tong Po as the main
Yeah.
bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so terrible.
Oh,
It was so
no.
bad. I was
That's
just like,
sad.
my God, you are so funny. And you have such a great presence in Guardians. Yet when you're relegated to just being this two-dimensional villain,
Yeah, the
they,
bad
they
guy.
tried to add
Doesn't
more
work.
drama to it, but it
But
fell
you can't
so
act
flat.
into that, can you?
No,
How
no.
can you give that a personality and a,
Exactly,
you know,
so
a life? And
I give it a rating of utter shite.
Utter shite.
Yes.
That's
I
bad.
won't bother then.
I
I'll stick with
literally-
the trailer.
After half an hour, I was like, now I know it's bad. And
Is
20
it worse
minutes later,
than
I was off it.
Is it worse than Hellraiser Revelations?
Hellraiser Revelations is bad.
That's-
It's so bad.
that's-
Yeah.
That's complete.
But the
shite.
thing is, I watched that all the way through and didn't take my eyes off it. Granted, I was reviewing it. I was watching Vengeance for pleasure, which turned into pain. And that was bad. Speaking of pain,
Yeah.
of course.
I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Have you seen anything that you've enjoyed?
Have I seen anything that I enjoyed? Well, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. You know,
Nice.
in the last podcast, I
Nice.
mentioned how excited I was to go and see it, and I've seen it, and I was skeptical because it's a follow-up. Is James Gunn going to deliver the magic? And I have to say, as a James Gunn fan, it felt the least James Gunn of all of his films, which is a
Do you think
shame.
it's when they put the money in?
But the studio said, free creative control, because this does not coincide right now with Avengers and Infinity
Yeah,
Wars
yeah.
and all this
Yeah.
other stuff that's going to happen. So, and James Gunn is now off Guardians. It's, it's going to
Yeah.
go in another direction that's going to tie in with the rest of Marvel. But it delivered, and because I had no idea what was going on, I was surprised when Kurt motherfucking Russell turned up, and I was like, Kurt motherfucking Russell's in Guardians!
Man.
Can you fucking believe it?
Yep.
And then Sylvester Stallone
Sylvester
turns up
Stallone's
in
in
Guardians
it.
Guys. I was like, oh, I love it. I just love it.
Did you know Miley Cyrus is in it as well?
I didn't know that, but
She's one of the background
I love it.
scavengers. Yeah.
It's so memorable. Granted, it did make me feel a little bit ill during its opening 5 minutes when it's a group dance and the action's going off in the
Can't do
background,
musicals.
and it was like, great, we're getting the 5-minute Groot commercial for his toy
Yeah.
right at the beginning of the film. But granted,
Yeah.
Groot's a pivotal part to the
Yeah,
story,
yeah.
and it's interesting, but it felt very much so like, we're gonna play up to your
Yeah,
favorite
you
character
got
right
Kurt
now.
motherfucking Russell in it. You don't care.
Exactly.
Is that his new middle
That
Oh,
is
yeah,
his name.
totally.
He is Kurt motherfucking Russell. Okay.
And so my other cinema outing included Alien Covenant, which I've made my views very clear. Actually, I don't think I did. I
No.
think we've already said when the film comes out on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital.
Yeah, we'll watch
it again, and we'll do an actual thorough analysis review of it. And I can only say our 20-minute video of it will
Yeah.
turn into an hour of me dissecting and ripping apart what could have been and what is the foundations for ruin, which will continue with the Alien franchise beyond the AVPs. AVPs, you can put them on the side and go, it's not part of the Alien canon. You
Yeah.
can just keep
Yeah,
pushing it
yeah,
aside.
yeah.
When Prometheus, it was like, it's not quite an Alien film,
It's
it's
not quite
something
there yet.
different.
Something-
but
yeah.
now we have Ridley Scott going, Alien Covenant, that's it. And it's
And
just...
then,
It's just
and then what
all
happened?
crumbles into dust. Like
Does it?
it does, because
Oh,
it
Green
impacts on
dies.
Alien and aliens,
Yes.
and there's so many things wrong with it. And there are
Shall I
defenders
not
of
see
it,
it
and I
then?
understand there are defenders of the
The
film.
dream's not there.
And
that's
so
the
I have to
thing.
give it a second chance. I'm still going
Yeah.
on my feelings and opinions walking out of the cinema, and I always like to give it a second
'Cause I
chance.
can't
But
wait
that's
for-
still how I feel
I
right
can't
now.
wait for you to see Blade Runner 2. When
Oh.
everything I've been saying for the last 20 odd years to you
know.
comes true, and you're gonna be like, "Fuck you, Ian! Fuck you!"
That's gonna come back up a bit later on. We'll get to that. But my other outing, I caught. Occasionally I really like my shark movies. and I watch them in many forms.
Yeah.
And the latest outing was 47 meters down. I think it has a different name as well,
The
like
two
Deep
girls
Waters.
in the shark cage.
It is Mandy Moore and Claire Holt, two girls, two sisters in Mexico
like a soft
that
pork.
basically... Well,
47 meters
47 meters down, that's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And so basically they're in Mexico, and one of the girls, basically her boyfriend leaves her. They're like, you're boring. So they decide to go out. They go, yeah, we can dive. And they go out on a boat and they get in the shark tank.
Yeah.
The sharks attack. The rope breaks. They sink 47 meters down. And then the tension is they're 47 meters down and the boat's up there.
But
then you're like, okay, what about the science of being stuck down there? How are they going to get them up? And the film then, after that great premise, fucks everything up because of physics and reality. Because, they mentioned the bends, which is going to happen. If you race to the surface, you'll fucking die.
Yeah.
Nitrogen, was it in the oxygen in the brain? Or, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's the bends.
It's the bends, yeah. And at the climax of the film, sorry everyone, don't go and see it. Don't go and see it. But they race to throughout the film, they're stuck in the cage, and they keep saying throughout the film, we can't just race to the surface. We can't just race to the surface. We're too deep down. We have to wait under the surface for 5 minutes.
Brilliant concept.
All the sharks are swimming around.
Yeah,
it's a great concept, but they just screw it up with the timing.
No.
I was hoping that they would be down there for the right amount of time for oxygen.
Not like phone booth.
And they also pulled a double ending where the film ends. And then it goes, it was all a hallucination from too much oxygen, and then they play out the real ending.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
It was like, did you need to
cheap.
pad the film out with the two endings? It was like, we played this ending and no one liked it, so now have this ending. It was so bad.
And this is why I Wikipedia my films.
But here's one thing that I did like about the film was the
Right.
sharks, even though they were all CGI, were great. They were really good. And the shark moments were tense because the sharks behaved like sharks.
Oh, my.
They were the most realistic thing about the whole film was the CGI sharks. But also the girls, the acting as well was okay. It was enough to keep the film from being total shite. So what I did get out of it was the terror suspense concept, but the actual play out, could have been better.
It's a shark movie.
So I've gone back to TV after the cinemas kind of let me down. One in 3 was good. I started a new TV series which I heard quite a few good things about, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check it out. American Gods, and it's based on a novel written by Neil Gaiman, and it's starring Ricky Whittle as Shadow Moon, Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday, and it's got Gillian Anderson, Peter Stormare, Emily
good.
Browning,
Yeah.
and its creator is Brian Fuller, and I've been a fan of his since Dead Like Me. The TV show about the girl who dies.
That's
going
back
back.
a bit.
But he was also
going back a
then
bit.
did Hannibal, the 2013 TV series, which was spectacular. And so now he's doing American Gods. But he also has a co-worker called Michael Green, who, to his credit, just did Logan, which at the moment I'm still saying is film of the year for me.
Okay.
But then I found out that this guy also had some other things that he's attached to, like the story for Alien fucking Covenant.
Ooh.
And now I've just found out that this is the same writer for Blade Runner 2049. It's the same writer for Alien Covenant. And I'm telling you now, my heart has crumpled to dust.
Shut up. Tell him
I
to
cannot
look at his
believe it.
face.
That's
But
amazing.
the thing is, I'm like, okay,
Oh.
now
That's amazing.
American
It's also
Gods
the world, isn't
is
it?
sweet because he's with Brian Fuller.
Right.
That's credit to Michael Green. His screenplay for Logan was awesome. I'm saying film of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm also saying Alien Covenant, the worst fucking script I've seen
So
this
it could
year.
be brilliant,
So it could be
or could
brilliant, and
be-
it could
it could be
be
horrendous.
it could be terrible. So,
So anyway,
the
how's
story
American
for
Gods then?
American Gods is about an ex-convict named Shadow who meets a mysterious man who calls himself Wednesday. And Wednesday appears to know quite a few things about Shadow's life.
Yeah.
You soon find out that Mr. Wednesday is a god. And
Neil
other
Neil Gaiman is
other
good.
gods exist, and they're all running different things in America, but the gods are kind of at war with each other
Well, I've
as
been
well.
saying for years.
There
I've been
is
saying that for years.
this
So it's
this
Greek
series is
mythology.
it's 1 hour episodes. It's Greek.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'm only 3 episodes in, and I think Mr. Wednesday is Odin.
Really?
I really do.
Oh my
It's,
God.
it's so
Right,
good
I'm gonna
now.
watch
This
it.
it's 18 rated. There is explicit
Are they all
sex
out?
scenes. Yes,
Oh.
the whole first season
So
is
I can
out,
watch it all
and there
in
is
order.
violence like you want in this adaptation. There is a scene. There's a
Sounds
sex
like
scene.
Spartacus.
There is a sex
Oh
scene
my
where this
God.
female god
Don't tell us
is.
everything.
It doesn't tell you
Shut
this.
up, shut up, shut
I'm
up,
sorry.
shut up, shut up, shut up.
This
Wait,
is
I
the
want to
point.
hear. I want to hear the
Oh,
female
well, I'll
god
put my
sex scene.
fingers in
Yeah,
my
put your
ears
fingers
and
in
whisper.
your
But she brings this businessman into her bedroom and she's riding him for about 3 minutes, and
Nice.
then you
Yeah,
look
I
at the
can go with
camera
that.
angle and you're like, maybe that's a
Yeah.
bit odd, and then you
Yeah.
realise he's shrinking down and she absorbs them all into her vagina.
Oh, like that, like Grim Prairie Tales.
Yes,
Where he sucks in the
totally like
vagina,
Grim Prairie
like
Tales.
Grim Prairie
But the
Tales.
thing is, you see the men floating, raging hard-ons in like
In under the
under the skin.
Nice.
It's a merging of both of those, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so weird.
That's
Right,
American
can I
Gods.
unplug my ears, yeah?
Totally.
Yeah, you
it
can.
has been renewed for a second season. It's going
Do
to
you
keep
recommend
going.
it then?
Highly recommending it right now.
Ah.
I cannot wait to get back to it.
That's my tomorrow.
Next recommendation,
Yeah.
Better Call Saul. I think I've mentioned it before, but there was one episode, midpoint of season 3, that was not just a good episode of Better Call Saul. It was a spectacular moment
This
in
is
television.
the guy from Breaking Bad.
This is the prequel series from Breaking Bad by
Yeah.
Vince Gilligan and Peter Gold, and it's starring Bob Odenkirk as Jimmy McGill, who would eventually become Saul Goodman
Right.
in Breaking Bad. And I love the name Saul Goodman, just the way it's Saul Goodman.
Oh, good man.
And
Yeah,
but there was
yeah.
an episode that makes me want to recommend the show even more, is because the first season it was pitched as the comedy character from Breaking Bad. Let's have a comedy series about him.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. The creators were like, no, that doesn't fit in the Breaking Bad universe. And so the show's gotten darker as it's gone on. And the comedy is there just because of the situations the main character gets in as a shady lawyer who's trying to do good but ends up finding he has a talent to do bad.
But more like Sopranos, where he's just like his dealings in dodgy business.
The dealings and dodgy business. Now, the things I really like about the third season is all of the Jimmy McGill and his brother relationship that annoyed me in the first 2 seasons, but it's so good in the third season that there was a standalone episode where the whole episode was in the court, and you know I like court drama,
You love courtroom drama.
and the whole battle playing out in the courtroom was mesmerizing. You just saw those actors gleaming in an otherwise small, prequel TV series, which I can't wait for Better Call Saul to go past Breaking Bad. Right now, it's taking place on the cusp of taking place at the same time as Breaking Bad, and I want it to see it go further and
How many
continue
seasons
on.
are in?
Midpoint of season 3 right now. It's still playing out, so I still can't.
Breaking Bad had 5?
5 seasons, yeah, but yeah. So
They do 5 seasons.
it's
that'd
the
be
expanded
good.
universe. I'm really loving it.
Yeah.
And video game wise, I'm playing Civilization 5, folks. Nothing else right now. Ever since that video that I put up on Gaming Friday, I'm still playing
You're
it.
just into building.
As soon as I get a
building
chance.
troops and trying
Yeah.
to take over the world
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
My favourite faction's still Germany right now, and I will get a victory. Domination.
Yeah, that's it. It's just all the films at the moment. All the films and TV shows and games are just kind of taking a
Yep.
bit of a
Yep.
sideshow.
Well, let's get into. Well, I was going to say let's get into
Exciting
film.
time.
Film and
Yeah.
game news, but unfortunately there's not very much game news. For Far Cry 5 I think was announced, but there's only going to be a
Far
few
Cry
snippets
5.
of info snipping out right now because E3 is next month. So I think in the next podcast we will also look possibly at covering some of the E3 in the news section
Oh,
then.
yeah.
Yeah, E3.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the film news, and we're going to start with the sad news and move on if we can. But Sir Roger Moore passed away at age 89.
Oh, man.
Moore played James Bond for 12 years.
It's a good
Fucking
age.
hell.
though.
Yeah? Oh, absolutely.
He's
It's
the
a good
longest
age. That's a
James Bond.
winning
That
age.
is a
That's a
good
winning age. But yeah, from 1973 right through to 1985. He is the longest serving Bond actor, and he's pretty much done some of my favourite Bond films. Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved Me,
Yeah.
Moonraker,
Yeah. Yeah.
Octopussy, View for a Kill.
It's time for a binge, isn't it?
Well,
In homage.
I'm gonna small spoiler, folks, but as you might realise, podcast 007 will be next month, and our main feature next month's podcast is going to be looking at all of the James Bond movies, our favourite actors' moments.
So good.
That
It's
is
so
a
good.
good
Gary
project.
came up with the idea for 007 and we were on like podcast 2 and I'm like, really?
That's if we get that
We've
far.
got to get that far, and now we're on 6, heading into 007
Yeah.
Yeah.
to talk about James Bond, and
That's magic.
Roger Moore is
So-
not with us anymore. It's
It's a homage.
it's so devastating. I
It's
watched
your
A View to a
homage.
Kill.
Well, I mean, everyone kind of saw Roger Moore's incarnation of Bond as a parody of Sean Connery's Bond. It
Hell
was the
no.
introduction of the
He
one-liners,
He
the
was.
witticisms.
It
It
didn't matter.
really
It
did.
don't matter.
It,
Don't
it,
matter.
it doesn't matter, but it was the spoof take. But it served the purpose at the time that those films were coming out.
Roger Moore's James Bond served the country well.
Oh, I did.
When needed.
You know, well, and the same with my
He did.
favourite quote from Roger Moore when he was asked if he ever cared that everyone always just called him Bond, you know, over Roger. And he said, being eternally known as Bond has no downsides. People often call me Bond when you're out and about, and I don't mind a bit. Why would I?
Absolutely.
It's exactly.
Absolutely.
The man, the
Eulogy.
Yeah, just brilliant.
It does make me question, though. Okay, Sean Connery was obviously in Highlander,
Yeah.
and he's still alive.
Yeah.
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 He could be immortal. Sean
God.
Connery could be
He
immortal.
could be immortal, I agree.
I think he will be anyway. I've seen Dragonheart, man.
I think he lives
I'll
in
never
trees
get over
separately.
it.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to the next story, which I am surprised. I'm totally in shock still reading this, but
Okay.
George A. Romero is returning to make another zombie movie. This one
Oh, dear.
will be titled
Oh dear.
Road of the Dead.
He must be
Now
scared.
then. No, George A.
What's that
Romero
gonna be
is
about?
a legend. First and foremost for defining the zombie genre as we know it. Believe it or not, George Romero does not like the Walking Dead TV series. Despite making, in my opinion, some inferior zombie products in his later trilogy of films. Say what you will of the man, I still love him for his passion and enthusiasm behind independent filmmaking, because he's kind of the man now that independent filmmakers that want to make a horror movie come to George and say, George, have a look at my movie. Can you put your name on it and help me sell this film? And he's doing that a lot to help new filmmakers get a push. God love George A. Romero.
Okay.
And one of those filmmakers
yeah.
has come up to him and said, George, I want to make a zombie movie. Make it with me. And so George Romero's putting his name on it, and so
Yeah,
it's
that's-
him presenting it.
It's
Now,
called-
the story,
Oh,
the
That's got a
concept,
heart.
it does have a heart, which is why I
does.
want to talk about it. But the setup gets me worried instantly. This is inspired. I'm going to tell you what's inspired this film.
Okay, yeah.
It is inspired in part by The Road Warrior,
really,
Rollerball,
really.
and Ben-Hur.
What?
Now, the setup is that
Okay.
the apocalypse has happened.
Yeah.
And
Mad Max
these
with
are
zombies.
islanders. They're on one island, safe from the main
Mad Max
apocalypse.
zombies.
But there
That's
are
pretty
zombies.
cool.
Yeah.
And they have
So-
set up a Roman
shit.
Colosseum
What?
to which the survivors drive NASCARs around the Colosseum,
OMG.
wrecking zombies for the people's entertainment.
I like it.
So it is a play on what we love. We love our bloodshed and violence, and let's descend back into death race with zombies.
Rein it in, big boy. Rein it in,
That's
big boy.
it. That's it.
George A. Romero is coming back to make a film called Road of the Dead. Now, I love.
Well, he's putting his name on it. So it's George A. Romero presents
George
Road
A.
of the
Romero.
Dead. Yeah.
I love my George A. Romero shit. I really do. The original trilogy is amazing. But I sat through Survival of the Dead.
Yes, me too.
And I'm sorry, George, but what were you thinking? I watched a bunch of zombies eat a horse. It was worse than... The Walking Dead did it 10 times better. Now there's a film, Road of the Dead, and it's looking like Mad Max with zombies. In a Roman
It might be a
Colosseum.
comedy.
It sounds like a fucking comedy.
Exactly.
It
So it
sounds,
would
but I
work
don't want
then,
it to be a
wouldn't it?
comedy. I mean,
No.
where's the...
Where's the
I
horror?
know.
But I mean,
Where's
it
the
sounds like the
survival
social
aspect?
commentaries in there, but the survival is to the point where these islanders don't give a fuck
They're
about
on
the
an
zombie
island, right?
apocalypse. They're safe-ish.
They're on an island.
Yeah, I know in Land of
Right.
the Dead we saw them go across, I guess, the lake
Yeah.
or the river. Or...
I'm using my
remember where they were.
imagination right now, and I immediately want to think of a desert island, but I know
Like
it's not.
Alcatraz.
It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be some shitty New England town. Sorry, New
Do you
England.
reckon?
You know, and they're going to have all these great things to build this
It sounds like
woodeny
Spartacus.
fucking
Yeah.
Colosseum. The zombies are going to be splattering CGI blood all over the camera. There'll be a love interest. 20 quid, there's a love interest, but she'll die. She'll die, and the driver will try to
She
escape.
might not though.
And he'll end up
because
dying
they're
at the
getting
end,
More girl
and the
power
zombies
in
win.
now, so she mightn't die.
Yeah, but the zombies got to win. The zombies should win.
Well, whatever way it happens, I know I'm going to watch it
They will
because I
die
just
out
want just
there.
about
We're
the
gonna
title
watch it.
alone.
We're gonna watch it. Yeah.
So in the next news, this is a sequel that no one really thought would ever come to light. Is Top Gun 2 is official. It's official.
Oh god, I fucking cried when I saw this. I'm like, really?
The first film was in
I don't know what they're
1986. Tom Cruise has said he is back, and he I think it's him who's pretty much forcing this to happen.
But
You-
do they
you
keep
don't-
giving us false hope though? Because
Just-
then you watch them and
Just
they're crap.
have Top Gun come up on the screen, right, with the music, right?
But
It,
they're going to
wakes
need
up
a new
everybody in the
soundtrack.
cinema, and then the
Is it
two
gonna be Highway to the Danger Zone?
explodes through Top Gun, and you got Mel Gibson, and boom, you'll be in it. It'd be
Mel
awesome.
Gibson, Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, sorry.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Could
Yeah,
be one
Tom
of them
Cruise
though,
on
as well,
screen
isn't it?
as soon as
Val
the
Kilmer
title.
has also literally tweeted out to Tom Cruise saying, "I'm back, I'm ready, I've still got the name plaque, I'm good to go." However, there's been some speculation as to Val Kilmer's health issues, and there are rumours that he's had battles with cancer,
Yeah.
and not.
Some of his later films,
And so people are wondering, are these going to be back as pilots? Like, by now, shouldn't they have been promoted up through the Navy and being
no.
office jobs? But
Unless they
but it
get
goes against their
headhunted.
characters.
Tom Cruise will be a cameo.
You reckon there'll be cameos?
He'll be the cameo that turns up towards the end when the
Is he
pilot
not
doesn't
the
want to go up.
instructor?
And
I
he-
thought
I
he
think
was
that he'll be the next
instructor.
instructor, yeah. I think they'll both be next instructors,
Yeah,
but I reckon
that's all
something
it
will
would
go
work.
wrong and they'll
And
need to
they've
get out
gotta-
there and pilot their fighters and go and
Because
save
it's
the
their
day somehow.
relationship that
Yeah.
they work together.
Oh,
that'll
they're
save
gonna
the
do
day,
that fucking shitty line though. It was good in the first one, but
Yeah, but
Can
you've
you
waited
imagine
what,
a-
nearly 30 years for
you'll
them
be
to
sat-
say it again.
Yeah, you'll be sat there.
Yes,
There'll be
that's
some-
right, that's
There'll be some unknown lad and some unknown
Oh my
lad who are
God.
playing the two main characters, and Tom Cruise is off the side, and the two unknown lads will be in the fucking changing rooms.
I know, but it's okay.
And he'll look at the other guy and he'll be like, "You're dangerous." The unknown guy will be like, "That's right, I'm dangerous." And you'll sit there going, "Oh, it's not as good as
Do you
the
think
first
do you think they'll
time."
have the beach volleyball scene again? Or will it be a different game?
They'll get it in somehow.
So
Yeah.
the next news story, I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but it's worth sort of pointing out.
Okay.
Tom Hardy has been cast as Venom
Yeah.
No.
in a standalone
I like Tom Hardy. though. He's
Spider-Man building
Really?
universe
Ah.
without Spider-Man.
got- Right.
Because right now,
Is it
Sony owns
Spider-Man's
Spider-Man,
parents'
and they've
backstory?
leased, and they tried to make their own Spider-Man films, didn't financially work. They've leased Spider-Man to Marvel, who, by the looks of Civil War and Homecoming, looks like it's going to be pretty good.
To buy
That character will come back to Sony, who are going to recast that Spider-Man for their Spider-Man universe. But before they continue to build that Spider-Man universe, they're starting with a villain as Venom, who was renegated to a second bit villain in Spider-Man 3 under Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
A lot of fans like Venom. Venom has a lot of interesting sort of
Muscles.
characteristics. Believe it or not, I think his origin story was Deadpool. I think Deadpool was the first person to encounter the symbiote in the comic books.
No,
I think that there
No,
are
the
lots of
symbiote came
interesting
from
stories.
space.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
Deadpool was in space at the time, or there are so
And
many confusing continuities and timelines, but that might be
you've got
one
the
of
black
them.
suit. You've got the black suit Spider-Man.
But
he
this is going to
fights
be the
it.
story of Eddie Brock.
It goes to Eddie
becoming
Brock, who's
Venom.
been played by Tom
Now,
Hardy.
Tom Hardy was Bane in Batman. He's jumping
God,
straight into
I loved
Marvel.
him.
And he's already been
Yeah.
Max as
I
well.
loved
He's
From
been-
Mad Max, don't forget.
Yeah. So
I loved
you
him in
know,
The Craze. I think he's good.
I think Tom Hardy is
He's
good,
good.
but can he carry the whole film as a villain
Yes,
character?
yes,
I
he
think
can.
he can.
He
I
can
think
because
he
he's
can.
fucking Tom
he
Hardy.
can,
It
but now
is.
can we expect Sony to deliver a good superhero movie?
No.
Because their last few attempts have all been
unless they
critical and financial failures.
unless they go dark.
But Tom Hardy's.
You need Tom Hardy dressed
Yeah.
in a black suit, dropping
But
down.
I will
with a
also
scary
point
face.
out,
And
as
his-
much as
Going
great as Tom
R-rated.
Hardy is, he
His
was also
men
the
might
laughing
let it
stock
be.
of Batman, with everyone impersonating his
Yes.
masked voice.
Yes.
I don't
his
care.
man's voice
When
was-
you watch that movie, yeah,
it's pretty damn good.
But when you're watching it, it doesn't matter.
His fight scenes are pretty damn
Yeah.
good. That's what I mean. And then you saw him in
He's-
Max. Everyone goes on about how bad Mad Max was
No,
because
I
Imperator
loved
is the main
it.
character. But Imperator is a brilliant character, and Max
Yeah.
is in the background. I
Yeah.
like Mad Max.
Yeah.
I do.
I haven't seen The Craze yet, but I love it when
No, I
actors
love
play
The
against
Craze.
each other.
And
Set
you
the
can
Alien
read.
Covenant.
There's such a sharp. I'm not normally a fan of that genre, but he makes such a sharp definition between the two.
Yeah, I know the reasons why you like Tom Hardy.
Well, I'm going to jump back to Tom Cruise and more universe building.
Yeah.
But Universal Studios are like, you know what?
yeah.
Screw you, Marvel. Screw you, DC. We were here first. We were the ones building universes. You not remember Frankenstein, The Mummy,
man.
Dracula,
Beautiful.
Jekyll and
Yeah,
Hyde.
they're remaking the Mummy. With
Do you not remember all those films shared their
19th
universes?
century novels.
Well, they have decided, Universal have decided we now own the Dark Universe. And the Tom Cruise Mummy film, which is coming out, is the first in this universe.
Okay.
She does look scarily hot. That
Yeah.
Mummy.
Does she?
Her eyes
So-
go, and she's like,
Russell
Yes,
Crowe
shit,
has
man.
been cast as Dr. Henry Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, which I think is good casting.
Nice. I don't know what his name was.
Johnny Depp has been cast as the Invisible Man.
Good.
And of course we have Tom Cruise, who is sort of the hero in the Mummy, and I guess he's going to be the hero fighting off against the rest of these, the Universal villains. But they're basically building up the Dark Universe, so we're going to get the Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Mummy,
that's
Wolfman.
so cool.
They're all coming back in a modern
say that.
reinvention. Now,
You've got to
Oh,
see it
you're
first.
such a pessimist.
I have
It's
hope.
Tom Cruise.
I
It
have
is Tom
hope.
Cruise
There are
who's
some
doing
lots
the
of
film.
Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, you know, Russell Crowe.
I loved him even in Legend, though.
Yeah.
I did.
I love Tom Cruise movies too. He's
I
guilty
loved him in
pleasure.
Top
I
Gun,
like.
I
So
like- yeah.
I think there's a lot
Edge
of good
of
talent
Tomorrow.
behind it. I think
Pete was
I'm
watching
definitely a
Mission Impossible
skeptic.
today.
I'm totally a skeptic when a company goes, "Yeah, we're building a universe, and this is our 7-film plan right up until 2035," and you go, "What the?" Like, you see it as a money grab, but at the same time, I have faith that this. I have hope that this could work.
Was it them who released the other Mummy movies with Brendan
Yes,
Fraser?
yeah. It was
Because
still Universal.
Guilty Pleasures.
Yeah, I like Brendan Fraser, the Mummy film.
I like Brendan Fraser.
Modernised the Mummy
You know.
for me, as goofy as it was.
It's a shame Rachel Wise left, but at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
it's,
Well, going into guilty pleasures here, I know that this is a guilty pleasure in the making.
Is it Wi-Fi?
Say what you weigh about Roland Emmerich, but he's directing a World War II film set in Midway.
I don't like World War II films.
I like
every
World War II
other
films,
war,
but I am always
Vietnam,
disappointed
give it me.
that we have
Iraq,
not seen the
Afghanistan.
naval battles in World War movies.
I can
No,
tell you
but
what
I like them
happens,
in
mate.
Pirates of
I
the
can tell you what, there's
Caribbean,
lots
but
of
not-
bangs and explosions and
it's
I'm gonna go home and
Now,
see my girlfriend.
exactly, that's what I said. It's going to be a guilty pleasure
Sorry,
for the
I'm
spectacle
not being
because Roland Emmerich does spectacle well, but he does not do characters. Basically, all of his actors turn into cardboard cutouts in his movies, and they dance around the most beautiful special
What?
effects you can imagine.
Saying
But
that,
that's what
Independence
apart from
Day, Day
Saving
After
Private
Tomorrow,
Ryan.
2012.
if he sticks close inside the ships, you know, kind of like a Battlestar Galactica way.
Yeah,
You know,
like I
keep
said,
it
it could be a
quite
real good
compact.
character
That
piece.
could
I
be
want
really
to
good.
see the
Spread it
the
out
naval-
too much, and you know, start involving families from back home. You start having all these other backstories. You want to
Yeah,
focus.
I want to
mainly
see
on
the
battles.
strategy, the interactions of the characters on
Yeah.
these naval ships delivering this
No, I agree.
massive destruction on because the Japanese at Midway were wiped out, and that's why they abandoned the islands and.
But they,
then
yeah,
bomb-
the Japanese were owning the skies for a long time.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
you know.
so it's a fascinating tale, and I'm hoping for historical accuracy as well.
Yes.
I'm saying what I'm hoping. I know what I'm gonna get. It's Roland Emmerich. Moving on to fuck ups. Resident Evil has obviously just finished its 6-movie run.
Resident Evil.
There were 6 installments starring Mila Jovovich as Alice.
Are we sure it's Jovovich?
I
Is
love
it
It's Jovovich.
Jovovich.
I hope
Yes.
she's on
That's
the
even
list
sexier.
for later.
You know,
She is
and
lovely.
the franchise has grossed over $1.2 billion.
I've thrown in.
It is the most
for
successful video game to movie adaptation.
It is.
Cemented. And it sucks. in my opinion.
Oh God!
I like the first
I
film.
love the trailers. Why are they?
I like the first
why
film.
Are they
The rest
conning
are
us?
garbage in
Oh.
extreme scale, and we will get to reviewing those films. And
I know,
so
but sometimes
I was.
Don't argue with him at this
Sometimes
point.
you just want.
I love the
Sometimes
Resident
you
Evil
just want
But
to switch your brain
sometimes-
off entertainment. I
exactly.
tried. I watched them. I tried.
Yeah.
But-
Really? Could you
but
not just
I was a fan of
enjoy
the games
the
first,
choreography?
and
Can you
to
not
an-
just
to an
enjoy a
extent,
woman kicking ass?
to an extent, if I don't care whether she lives or dies, then I can't care whether she kicks ass well or
I
not.
see. I agree.
And because there's no character anymore, just a bunch of tropey, two-dimensional shadows of characters that existed
that's
in
an
its
insult.
original franchise.
You're so tropey.
It hates. The thing that gets me is that
the thing that gets him.
Milla Jovovich has said that she understands why this franchise is being rebooted, and it is being rebooted already, immediately, less than 6 months after the last film.
Money.
It's being rebooted.
All of it?
And I'm excited by the person they brought on to produce it.
Okay.
It's James Wan.
Well,
Saw. All the Saw
yes,
movies.
yes.
Insidious and Conjuring. These are dark, brutal horror movies.
I know I don't like horror movies though, but that's
So-
how it's supposed to be.
I'm kind of just hoping that he can add something to the Resident Evil franchise that Paul W.S. Anderson and his crew took out of the franchise.
Well, Paul
Now-
W.S. Anderson started with the blood and the guts and the homages to the games.
Well,
But
with
it's
the
like-
first film, he didn't break the story of the games. It kind of fit into
Yeah,
the
it
story.
fitted in, but
With the
was
second one
separate,
onwards,
you know,
that was when he was like, "I'm just going to write my own story now."
Yeah, well, you had to because nobody really wanted to see another Resident Evil.
Well,
because everyone
apparently
thought the first one was a
everybody
commercial
does
failure.
still want
I
Resident
love
Evil,
Resident Evil.
to be an adaptation of the characters that made us love the franchise to begin with.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
see their stories on
But
the big
not-
screen. Is that too much to ask
Yes,
for?
it is too much to ask because when you make a Resident Evil story, everybody assumes you're supposed to do the mansion from the first game. And my argument has always stood, which character do you follow? Chris or Jill? Because if you follow in the game, you only follow one character.
Tell you what, have both of them and have neither of them locked up. It
you
doesn't
ha-
matter. So long as the mansion's there and the story of how they discover the Umbrella Corporation,
That's
its
all-
ties
That's all,
to
that's
the
all good.
experimentations
But
and
as
everything
soon
else.
as you see Wesker pop up, you're like, bad guy.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
I want-
'Cause I've played all games.
Now, I've said this before. This is something we've learned in film, is that when you know the ending, it doesn't matter. If the story is told well, you'll re-watch it to watch and re-experience the story.
Yeah,
So even
yeah.
if you know he's the villain, if it's done well, you'll enjoy him revealing himself as the villain to the characters and still enjoy their reaction to finding out. If it's done well.
If they reboot it, they should reboot it like they've done with 7, the game. They should reboot Resident Evil with its own story, and then maybe pull a Halloween 3 on it, and just have new Resident Evil movies coming out with different stories and different characters. Bringing in the stars.
I
members.
personally would just retell some of the stories from the successful games.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're great set pieces.
Resident Evil 2
in
would be amazing.
It would be.
But then again, which entrance do you go? Do you follow Claire or do you follow Leon?
Speaking of sequels,
Yeah.
Terminator 6 has been on and off ever since Genesis release.
Yeah. They
And
need
the
to finish
company,
that
as I've said before, the company that owned Genesis kind of has gone under. They didn't really make their money on Genesis, or I think they did in China. And
Yeah.
then people were like, yeah, it's enough to make a sequel. And then they were like, yeah, but probably not. And the rights have finally gone back to James Cameron. And James Cameron was like, yes, we're going to make Terminator 6 happen. And then there was news that he was like, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to carry on with Avatar.
Okay.
And
Is
then,
he still making Avatar?
yeah, he's
Fucking
making
hell.
Avatar 2, 3, and 4 right now.
Why can they not bring some new stuff out?
Oh, well, because he's besmitten with his own universe building. You know, it's universe building.
Yeah.
And so, but Arnold Schwarzenegger himself has said it is back. It is moving forward, and that James Cameron has some really good ideas on how to continue with the franchise, which means more than just the 6th movie. And Arnold said, I will be in the movie, not the star of the movie, but in the movie.
It would just be his head. His head
Maybe.
is a jar. You know?
Maybe. So, you know what? I'd be interested if it's James Cameron behind it. We're all going to go and see it because it's what we've wanted since T2, and we've not gotten. There are not many stories left to tell, considering most of the Terminator sequels have all been remakes of the first one. It's a case of go back, fight a new Terminator.
Is this going to be a sequel to Genesis?
Yes, because they're calling it Terminator 6. They know it's a continuation. They're not going to screw with the timeline. Because remember, Cameron enjoyed Genesis. He liked that idea. Maybe he wasn't too happy with the execution, but he enjoyed it enough to come out and say something. He didn't say jack shit about Terminator 3 and Salvation, really.
Yeah.
So, but with Genesis, he was front and
Three's
foremost.
pretty good because you get 1, 2, and 3. They finish off the major story. Then you go back to Connor and Salvation, and then you get Genesis, which changes the timeline. And I'm like, now I'm lost.
Yeah.
You know, you had me up to Genesis, and now we're over here somewhere.
So now maybe we'll get Genesis versus Skynet. I don't know.
Yeah. This is like, yeah.
Speaking of oddball things, Spaceballs 2. There are rumours of Spaceballs 2. Well, Mel Brooks made Spaceballs.
Is Mel Brooks still alive?
On the success of what? Star Wars.
Yeah.
What is huge right now?
Star Wars.
Exactly. So what's it time for? Star Wars parody movies. So MGM, I think it is, who were behind Spaceballs, have said to Mel Brooks, hey, what about it? And Mel Brooks said, well, actually, I've already got some ideas for their second one.
Shit,
now,
hell, man.
Everyone's already talking about certain actors which have passed away, which won't be in it. But then you've also got, is it Moranis? What was he called? Rick Moranis, who retired a long time ago.
Yeah, he retired.
And the MGM have said, we want him back for Dark Helmet. So I don't know if Spaceballs 2 will go ahead with or without him.
No.
But there's also talk that the entire cast might be replaced. However,
actually, they could remake it. Yeah,
I think it'd be right. The actual working title for it right now is Spaceballs 2: The Search for More Money. Yeah, it's can
Mel
it
Brooks.
work? Can the parody work? Can Mel Brooks still pull it off? 2017, 2018.
It's tough times to bring out that kind of film.
So we're gonna move into the film trailers. I usually say I don't like to watch trailers, but I am actually excited.
You're binging at the moment.
I'm binging on a couple of trailers. War for the Planet of the Apes, which is out July 14th this year. I think this trailer looks great. It's beautifully shot. It's suspenseful, emotional. The animations on the apes are getting better with every film.
They're real.
They are real.
Yeah.
I've loved the Planet of the Apes film since the original. The original Escape from Planet of the Apes, Beyond the Planet of the Apes, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the Planet of the Apes TV series.
Escape is my favourite, I think. That's the one with the time travel. The ship comes back in time.
I love the entire series. And so this is the third in the new trilogy.
Promise for this one.
Yeah, well, you know,
it looks like it's a real war.
Yes.
Yeah, they haven't had time travel yet.
No, but there was I think in the first film there was the rocket took off, which is which has the character that would come back. Yeah, in the very first film, and the news broadcast in the background, and on the newspaper there's the mission that launches. So that's it. And then the virus obviously starts straight then. Yeah. So I love how they've been so faithful to the original continuity of films and managed to expand and get these 3 films out of it, which are just great.
They are amazing.
I praise them so highly. Really enjoying them.
Who's the main guy in the first one again? It was
James Franco.
James Franco.
Yeah.
He was
good
in that movie.
I know, right?
And then his part in Alien Covenant was just
so not there.
Yeah.
You know, there was a news story which I omitted,
franchise?
But the writer actually explained that he had a much bigger role in the film.
Yeah.
And it would seem that because they decided to do away with some of the ideas they had for the script, they just cut him out, and that's why people were confused when he kept popping up in the film trailer.
Yeah.
And that was because they chopped him out basically and decided to take the route that they did, and that's why lots of pre-film material came out, because it possibly was in the film, and they just went, we're purging your character because you're not really needed.
Ouch.
So ouch. Yeah. Next trailer, Star Trek Discovery. There's actually visual content. We've had the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Now we have the trailer 10 years before Kirk.
Go on, say it, Gary.
What?
You're just wanting to.
I've been
blow
waiting
your
for a
load
good
over this
Star Trek
program.
series to
He
come
is
back for
ready.
so long.
He is ready.
I
to
am ready.
Beam
Who would have
himself
thought?
away.
Do you know what? I'm really happy.
Here we go.
What I'm really happy is it's set in the original timeline. It's not set in the new timeline from the new Star Trek movies. It's set in our TV timeline.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. That's all I needed to know. It's only a couple episodes.
The Klingons, though.
I think they look okay. I don't have a problem with the way the Klingons look.
No, I'm going to have to hear them speak.
I'm going to have to hear them speak.
The
Well,
Klingon
they'll
language.
speak in Klingon.
You know, I hope it's all guttural and scary. You know, you just have to hear them to... They've got cloaking technology. There's that part in the trailer where they're like, "Oh, there's warp signatures everywhere," and I'm like,
I was terrified
of them. Yes.
I was terrified of them.
Yeah.
But you know, Vulcan, half human, half Vulcan side. She is basically being a
Spock-ish
Spock.
character. Yeah, it's a bit of a retread, but I think they'll do.
But you can give
I hope they do
you can give
interesting
her
things.
emotion with the half human.
I have been watching a lot of Voyager recently on the horror channel, and
So hard to rewatch Voyager.
oh mate, no, Kate Mulgrew.
She is insane. When you watch enough Voyager, you realise that she went insane when she realised she'd stranded her crew 70 odd years away from Earth.
Yeah.
That woman went insane and then was command of a Federation ship for all that time. And she was insane, and she had to keep that secret from her crew.
Strong women.
It's when you watch Voyager with that, knowing that in your mind, it's just like, oh my god.
We all love a strong woman.
Yeah. I remember that everyone was like, oh, it was, it's the female Kirk. She's the shoot first, ask questions later. And it was like, no, this woman's mad.
Yeah.
She's insane. She's off the fucking hinge.
Sometimes you have to be brilliant.
It was fascinating to watch.
Imagine the conversation she'd have. She's travelling through the Delta Quadrant, waiting for something to scan so they can pick up some resources or whatever, and then Q appears in your bedroom. Wouldn't you go insane? You'd be like, okay, show me the powers of a god.
Yeah.
Bing! Whisking you all over the place. Oh,
Could have taken her home.
I'm going to get, taken over by the Borg now. Yeah, for 7 of 9.
Well, bringing us into the last trailer, and it's a TV trailer this time around.
Yeah.
Now, I had to bring it up because I'm super stoked. I can't wait. It's Game of Thrones Season 7. It's already been delayed. We had to wait because they needed to film in the winter period in order to reflect that winter has come. That was said in the last season, and now in this trailer, it closes with the Great War is here.
I actually can't cope.
Armies to the north, to the south, to the east, and the west. It's all going to kick off, and this is the second to last season. When it looks like by the end of this season, one person's going to be sat on the Iron Throne, and then the zombies, the White Walkers from the north, are going to collide with whoever is left sitting on the throne. And if they wipe each other out, the White Walkers will be sitting on the throne. We know that's not really going to happen. Jon Snow will save the day.
You never know, though.
But I thought it was... You never know.
know.
Actually, people do know because they guessed it, and George R.R. Martin was like, actually,
me.
you're right. But he didn't...
Don't
but
tell me.
I don't know. Some people know. A lot of people have guessed it. The theories are out there. I knew when Jon Snow was stabbed and everyone said he was dead. I was like, but he's the hero story. He will be reborn like Neo. It's this famous story of telling hero characters. And lo and behold, resurrected.
In real life, though.
I haven't watched a single episode.
I know
all
and
this.
so it's hard for me to explain how excited I am for a season you're not watching.
Cersei, I reckon will buy it.
Yeah. Well, it was foreshadowed because the prophecy had already told her.
Those two. The Kit Harington's character. See, I know the
Jon
actor.
Snow, Unfortunately, Kit Harington, I've seen him outside of Game of Thrones.
There'll be a lot of kick-off. And then, you know what? It'll be, I've always said, it'll be Arya who sits on the throne.
Interesting.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
She'll kill her. She'll have to kill her way there because everybody will.
But the rest of them are all killing their way there too for their own.
That's the point, and she'll be the last one standing.
But why her? The others have got an equal.
Why?
That's the point. That's why this collision is
it's
so
just
amazing.
Ian's chaos theory in effect as to this will be the one that he thinks it's.
I think your theory's crap.
I think she will survive, but I don't think she will sit the throne.
I'd win.
Well, that's going to bring us to the end of the first segment of the podcast. We'll be back with the second part talking about female action leads in movies. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to part 2 of the podcast, where we're going to be talking about female action leads in movies, specifically action films. Because as I was kind of researching and looking into and reminding myself of other female action icons, other than the obvious ones, it kind of merged and bled into the horror genre quite a bit more than I actually expected. And so I deliberately tried to cross off any horror movie action heroines if I could. So if it was a horror movie and it was more action than horror, then they've stayed on the list. But if it was horror movies, like Sydney from Scream, is not on this list. I will argue
Heather
that Langenkamp, they are strong female characters in horror movies.
Yes.
but not so much in action movies. And for me, the merging of that really started in the late 70s. Now, you have your exploitation genre of films, the grindhouse period of films. And within there, it was really Pam Grier who was the first female action hero.
Yes.
Or anti-hero in a way. You know, in some movies she was an avenging prostitute. This was the whole Foxy Brown, exactly. This is the exploitation. And so I just think it's also great that it was a black woman who was really, in my opinion, the first action hero, whether we called her a hero or not. She was there before the most famous, which is Ellen Ripley, who would come at the end of that decade. But then again, merging into that horror, the Alien is a horror movie. And again, she was the final girl.
It's a perfect hybrid, though, isn't it?
But
between
Aliens,
action
well, there's very
Aliens
little
is an action movie.
Aliens is an action movie more than it is a horror movie, and it was that film that made Ellen Ripley the star as an action star, because she was able to, you know, tough it up with these colonial marines. You know, she was able to back down Vasquez, who was this brutal, hard-ass woman. And Ripley is just like, whatever, I've not got time for your bullshit.
No,
that is Ellen Ripley.
More important things to do.
Exactly, yeah.
But then you get to Linda Hamilton.
Yes.
From the Terminator.
Now,
Terminator 2.
It's the only inspiration I have for doing pull-ups.
For doing pull-ups, yeah.
I think I've watched that clip.
She's inspirational.
So many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to do some pull-ups.
Yeah.
She looks badass when she's got the black sunglasses and the black vest, and she's cleaning that M16 out in the desert.
Interestingly, again, her appearance in the first film was strictly the final girl. Again, another horror trope, horror movie. Yeah. She was the lone survivor who turned James Cameron
and then she did
voice into an Ellen Ripley. So James Cameron's got a lot to answer for. He was really the one who kind of introduced the feminist angle to Aliens in many ways as well. He understood women. Yeah, well, he married Linda Hamilton, I think, so...
And that's why their names are synonymous with their characters.
Now, this is one thing I noticed, but those two characters are, in my opinion, the two finest examples of females in action movies. And both of them are mothers. And both of them have huge paternal instincts in both of their series of films.
I think motherhood brings out such strength in a woman.
Absolutely. It's the motherhood angle, which I found more so in these two characters over all of the other women that we are going to talk about in this next hour, was that they were mothers. And that was their driving force. And that is what's made them so identifiable as for men and women.
Animal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it was the devastating effect in the deleted scenes of Aliens where she loses Amanda, her daughter, to the whole of, you know, the Newt thing. And, and with Sarah Connor, with her son, John. Just plays on that family unit as well. So, yeah, those two are undefeatable.
In my head right now, I'm just replaying Aliens again. And
it's beautiful.
And
enjoy the moment.
They're just so strong.
They are.
To the point where the male leads are actually pushed to the side. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is big in Terminator.
Yeah.
You know, but Terminator 2, when you see Linda Hamilton running around, that's badass.
But he was also big in Predator. You know,
all the male characters in Aliens are
but that's it. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the 80s, 90s, you know, movie action star right up there with Van Damme and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was a male-dominated market, the action genre.
I'm going to loosely connect to Arnold Schwarzenegger there, but Bridget Nielsen in Red Sonja.
Sonja.
You know,
my idol.
I almost had her on the list. I've forgotten her name. Grace Jones, is it?
Grace Jones. She's on my list.
She's on your list. I crossed her off my list because I was like, she was good. She was memorable, but not
female
great.
Characters.
Yeah, but she was a strong female character, but all she did was growl and punch stuff. She was mentally unhinged. That's why I crossed her off. I was like, she's not.
I watched View to a Kill. I watched her View to a Kill recently.
Yeah, she was a Bond girl.
She was not only the Bond girl, the hench woman, but then flicking back to actually help Bond at the end. You're just like,
these women
you're believing that character.
Characters.
Yeah, they have real characters given to them. And
now, well, there's a lot of characteristics, as I said, bleeding from the horror genre, and there was a book that I used when I was looking at exploitation, and it's Men, Women in Chainsaws and Gender in Cinema and in the horror genre specifically.
Okay.
And it says that a lot of the final girls, or and these characteristics I've found bled into the action genre, was that they are typically sexually unavailable people. So they didn't flaunt their sexuality at all. Ripley didn't.
That's
Sarah
what
Connor
made her
didn't.
sexy.
Yeah.
That's what made her sexy, and that is another thing that adds another point to that type.
It does.
They are either also virginal type characters.
Do I look at The Descent?
Now, look at The Descent, and I was thinking, like, look at The Hunger Games, where she is, I think she's virginal, and she has two men pretty much throughout the entire franchise fawning after her.
She does.
But she does not, she keeps her sexual unavailability throughout it. And, you know, and remains
But I don't think
until the
that
end.
Sigourney and Linda
Jennifer
Hamilton
Lawrence.
would be frightened.
Well,
to do it.
I mean, by
I
the third
think-
film, Ripley jumps into bed with the Doctor, and
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence. I had her on my
I think
list,
it's
and I
a
was just like,
different
is she a good female lead?
I
But
think she's
then-
great. I
She
think The
is
Hunger
for
Games was
certain
great for
age
a whole
X-Men
generation of
series.
girls.
The X-Men
throughout.
series.
It's a
for what
younger
it did.
generation.
Totally,
She
yeah.
is a brilliant Mystique.
Yeah, I think she's
like
great
what she's
Mystique. I
done
really
with
like Jennifer
Mystique, and I'm
Lawrence.
just like, you know what, you know.
But it's probably, they'd get there quicker if they had Sigourney and Linda.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
would. They would.
There's a limit though.
No.
Yeah.
Why is there a limit?
Because you got to make space, and I've got a woman on my list who is taking the world by storm.
Well, also just cutting in just before
Oh,
Alien,
really?
just
Yeah.
before Alien, because I want to
Okay.
stick just the last, because obviously we've had Pam Grier,
Yeah.
Star Wars, Princess Leia. You know,
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher was just a couple of years before, and now granted, she was the damsel in distress, but the twist was, when they rescued her, they were incapable of rescuing her, and she practically rescued herself.
Yeah.
And it was a complete twist on the whole save the princess angle. So Carrie Fisher was there as well, I think,
She was.
just before Ellen Ripley.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
She
have
was-
to mention it.
She was a Skywalker,
And so
yeah.
and before I chuck it over to you, and I also want to say again, Star Wars today
Yeah.
with Daisy Ridley playing Rey.
Yeah.
A lot of people have criticised her performance, and a lot of people are
I love
not too
Daisy
happy with
Ridley.
her.
I
I have
love Daisy
fallen
Ridley.
in love with Daisy Ridley. I
tried
didn't
not
ever
to.
think I would, but I watched that film and fell in love with her character.
She
Her
flies the Millennium
performance.
Falcon like an ace. You know?
So yeah, so I think that she is now, as well as Jennifer Lawrence, a great female role model for girls in action movies.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah, Ian, if you want to,
yeah. Well, my next one on the list, I was looking down. Zoe Saldana
Guardians of the Galaxy.
from Guardians
yeah.
of the Galaxy. Oh, and Star Trek.
See-
She's just managed to. With her character in Guardians of the Galaxy, she's evil. But unless you've read the comic books, you know that she obviously sides with the team and does what she does.
She does.
Then you get that fight scene with Nebula.
Yeah.
That's a good fight sequence.
Yeah.
Not just the.
You love
the,
a strong woman fight sequence.
Yes, and mold that in with the special effects. You know when she's breaking the bones and the robot
It's
just kind of
beautiful.
body.
No,
kind of-
Nebula's the one who teams up with the with
No.
the Guardians.
In the first one, they fought.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen the second one yet.
Oh.
Spoilers.
Well.
Yeah.
But
Don't tell, I
like
haven't seen it.
Like I said, she was also in Colombian Bina.
I'm not aware of it now.
She was. She played a woman who was seeking a vengeance for her family's murder, and yeah, it was like watching the transporter walk in, but from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Cool.
It's a good female role
That's
model,
cool.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
I'd
throw
have
in.
her as a role model.
Yeah, I want to throw in an oddball one.
Okay.
And Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow, again alongside Tom Cruise. She was a surprise in that film that I did not expect.
Yeah.
She was a strong military female leader, but throughout the film, she puts on the image of being an utter bitch. And there's a great moment
she's
where
an
a
utter
truck
bitch.
goes past and there's a sticker on the back with her, and it literally just says Full Metal Bitch.
Cool.
And she was, throughout that film, Full Metal Bitch, because
Yeah.
she had to be the one to keep bitch slapping Tom Cruise around until he succeeded in his
You have to try
Groundhog Day-esque.
harder. You have to be a bigger bitch if you're in the military.
Yeah, but it's the
Imagine.
fact that the more, Groundhog Day-esque, the more he repeated the day, the more layers sort of to strip away of her character, and
Yeah.
you got to see that there was a human being underneath it,
Yeah.
and the connection between the two characters grew, despite that she not being the lead. she very much became as good as a co-lead.
She was the pinnacle point of the story.
Absolutely,
You know, and Tom Cruise was working around it. And on top of that, watching him die and her die and the aliens die.
Yeah,
it was.
Well, there's a sequel in the works, and I hope to see more of her Rita character. It was a standalone film. It didn't receive great reviews when it came out.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta go
every
see
time I see someone who hasn't seen it, I'm like, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Just watch
Forget
it.
whatever title it's called.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned it earlier, Mad Max Fury Road, which came out in 2015.
Oh,
Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Who expected that performance? I mean, did anybody going into it expect that performance? Going in to see Mad Max?
You know what?
Amazing.
Yes, I did, because Charlize Theron is amazing. She's done some really questionable roles, but at the same time has pulled them all off. And then seeing her attached to Mad Max, I was just like, okay, let's see how we go. The whole arm thing, driving the rig, you're just like,
she was fantastic. She held that film together. It was her story, and like I said, Mad Max was the vehicle for her story essentially, and just amazing. And you want more of her story, more of that character.
But she needed to have that because she had to overpower Tom Hardy, didn't she?
Pretty much, yeah, and she did.
And that was a job and a half.
Yeah,
and she
did Tom Hardy
did it.
But speaking of absolute badasses, Uma Thurman.
Oh my holy god.
Kill Bill. 2003 and 2004.
Kill everything in Kill Bill.
Pretty much, yeah. The sequences where she's fighting with a sword, where she's fighting with her bare hands.
Yeah.
The sequence where she punches her way out of a coffin.
Absolutely
the way she holds it together
phenomenal.
After the massacre at her wedding day. The fact that she's pretty much called the bride. You know, she becomes nameless.
She could be the Ice Queen.
Any one of her fight sequences are memorable and just
efficient.
Tarantino at his A game. Yeah. And delivering her as a character.
The fact as well, she had the backing to write her character with him. So she helped establish the scenes that we saw with, like,
I didn't know
her lying on the church ground.
Amazing.
Walking up to Bud, is it? Walking up the Bud's caravan, taking that rock salt right to the chest. Uma Thurman. She's amazing.
She is amazing. Okay, so here's one, that everyone celebrates, and we've mentioned her already.
Yeah.
Mila Jovovich. Fifth Element.
Yeah.
She was amazing in Fifth Element.
She was
and now
iconic.
6 Resident Evil movies. I loved her back in Joan of Arc.
She was good in Joan of Arc.
And I didn't care for Fifth Element.
What else she was good in?
Go on.
Zoolander.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I forgot that. Sorry. I've forgotten that film.
I was thinking all Resident Evil films, and then Zoolander just popped in my head.
But alongside her, at least in the first movie, she had Michelle Rodriguez as well.
Yeah.
Now, I had Michelle Rodriguez on the list, but then I kind of crossed her out because she's not the star.
She's an action star.
She's been in a lot of action movies, the Fast and the Furious movies. She was in Avatar, the Resident Evil. She did a stint in so many, but she's just a bit part. She's not. She's never the lead.
Kick-ass.
She's not.
She is kick-ass every time. Michelle Rodriguez.
She is the rough and ready kind of attitude in all of her appearances, and it's kind of, I forget any one of her characters because she plays Michelle Rodriguez in everything that she's in.
No, she doesn't. I can name one film that you probably loved her in.
Go on then.
Machete.
Yeah, but she just played Michelle Rodriguez again.
And she was amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing because she's that rough and ready, sexual appeal to her.
There we go, see?
No, I think I might have to agree with Ian, actually.
Yeah?
It's amazing.
I think she is amazing, but I don't think she's a leading actress. She's
but you look
she's
forward when you know
when
she's
when
in.
you put her against, like, Mila Jovovich. Yeah, Mila takes.
Unfortunately, for Michelle Rodriguez, she is a B movie star for me.
Yes.
She is a B movie star.
Agreed.
She's not an A-lister, is she?
No. I see the appeal totally.
I'm going to jump to another A-lister. Scarlett Johansson.
Oh my holy!
She's the modern day one, isn't she? She's the biggest.
I adore her.
I like her performances in some films. I like her moments in the Captain America, especially Captain America, the second one, the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Her interplay with Captain America is brilliant, and that is there in the Avengers films, but right now she has appeared in more of the films than anybody else because she kept appearing in all of the other ones, like turning up in Iron Man and everything else.
She's got,
and she hasn't had her own film yet. I know it's in the works. Marvel knows that they don't have a female lead, film in their repertoire yet.
I don't know if she is a female.
Well, Ghost in the Shell's done interestingly enough. She did Lucy. I
haven't seen Lucy yet. Is that any good?
Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was a bit stupid. But that's just my opinion.
Ghost in the Shell. I mean, I don't like the fact they've made it go live action, but Scarlett Johansson kicks ass, but does she kick ass mainly contained within the Marvel universe as the Black Widow? Comparing her.
So long as they give her stuff to do, because in some of the early films the camera was wedged up our ass and it was like, this is we've got the gratuitous female ass shot for all the guys in the cinema, all the nerds.
I didn't see that.
It
was too many explosions.
It was.
Oh my God.
It just threw me off.
But I'm glad that she's not just eye candy in the movies, but there is a character there, and I want to see her character come through in a follow-up movie.
She uses her eye candy as a strength.
Yeah, but I think Scarlett Johansson has an appeal in, I loved her performance in Her, and it was just a voice.
Yes.
I think she can do great things.
Yeah, we're on action films.
But she can. Yeah, but I'm not seeing it in the Avengers films yet. I'm seeing the hints of a character that I want to see fleshed out.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it would be. I mean, she's a spy. She's the female James Bond in a way.
Yeah.
But I want to see more with that character.
I'm going to take it to the Queen now.
The Queen?
The Queen. Angelina Jolie.
Oh.
Yeah, she was the big one in the early 2000s with Tomb Raider. And I've written down Salt as pretty much the only action film that she was in that I liked. I didn't like the Tomb Raiders.
I loved her coming up all
didn't like
Wanted. Gold in Beowulf as well.
Oh, Beowulf.
Oh yeah, animated Beowulf. Yeah, she was great.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That fight sequence
terrible
in the kitchen is awesome.
But that fight
sequence was brilliant. It just played out so well. I liked her in Sky Captain. World of Tomorrow.
And the World of Tomorrow. Oh my, that was with Jude Law as well, wasn't it? That was so terrible bad.
Awesome.
It was awful.
She's walking around with the eye patch and she's got command of this massive wing squadron. It's
that was literally like comic panels coming to life on the screen with no, caring about its medium. It was I can't believe that film came out. That was
it's got
bizarre.
some robots in, man.
So I'm gonna add this one into my list. And it's an odd one, I know.
Okay.
And it's because it's guilty pleasure, and I'd feel bad if I recorded this and didn't mention her.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy in Spy.
What?
2015, alongside Jude Law.
Is it an action film or a comedy?
It's a James Bond movie with elements where it spoofs it and then at the same time plays it for real.
Okay.
It's it reminds me of... it was the British film that came out a few years ago, also based on a comic book, The Gentleman. No, it's
Kingsman.
Kingsman, yes. It reminded me. It had comedy moments of Kingsman blended with that James Bond-esque nature.
With Melissa McCarthy.
Jude Law playing it straight as a James Bond. Jude Law plays James Bond, and Melissa McCarthy is sort of his radio operator, the one who's always telling him where people are on the map, so she can help him get in and out of the missions.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, and they eventually need someone who no one could possibly believe is a spy. That one person is Melissa McCarthy. And I've often said that for me, Melissa McCarthy is my modern age John Candy. I love every film Melissa McCarthy is in, almost.
Right.
There are my exceptions.
Yeah.
It's an action movie that has adult themes in it, and she is an actress that makes me laugh and she makes me cry. And that's why I have to put her on the list. I'd feel remiss if I did not mention Melissa McCarthy.
Wasn't she in Ghostbusters? I loved Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters was a goddamn fucking travesty.
I love the franchise.
To anyone in, I've said it before.
Action film though.
It
is an action film.
In Ghostbusters,
Yes, Sigourney Weaver, Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't.
She was more the damsel in distress in one.
She was in that film.
Dilute that.
She didn't really go jumping around, getting involved. There was that little fight sequence at the end of Ghostbusters 2, but she got captured real quickly.
It was just her presence.
Yeah, Bill Murray took
They
the whole of
played
that
off
film.
each other beautifully.
Okay, here's a big one.
Okay.
The Matrix trilogy. Trinity.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Oh.
She revolutionized in geek, in nerd culture, and outside of that.
Her
And
fight
outside of that. That's so.
sequences are
She
awesome.
was so good.
Totally.
She bled outside of her own genre
It was like
with
she
the
was
image.
dancing, wasn't it?
Which
She was
absolutely, her
dancing.
fight choreography, her delivery, the strength of the woman made Neo believe
Yes.
that he was the
And
one.
us believe.
The love story that's in there, you know,
She carried it.
she carried it.
She carried it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you're looking at Keanu Reeves and you're just like, yeah, I know he's the one. He's going to go off and do all this crazy shit. But the beginning of number 2, when she's falling out the window and that bullet hits her, and you're just like, what?
I don't know. It's the second one when
And
she's
then-
on the motorway on that motorcycle.
Yeah, yeah.
Ugh, just the imagery again.
That final sequence in the third movie when she's got all the spikes in her and he's blind to her. Oh,
Yeah,
So
you
she
shed a
gets
tear.
in your heart.
you
she
shed a
does.
tear.
She
in
does.
your
Her
heart.
yes,
You
because she
fall in
has a
love
cold
with her
exterior,
as well.
but you want her as a character. Exactly, the layers
You
peel
want-
away as the films
She's
go on.
crying in his eyes. I
She
told
was-
you.
Yeah,
Crying,
yeah.
No. That woman scares me. Carrie-Anne Moss. After watching Memento. That movie's amazing. And her performance in that, and then going and watching The Matrix, you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Trinity's over there. She's just like,
It's weird
whip
right
out
now
2 guns,
seeing
bang,
her-
bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
Seeing
blast
her
them.
You'd have to
on
be on your best
Netflix,
behaviour.
Yeah.
you know, the Netflix Marvel TV show. She's turning up as a lawyer character.
Okay.
She's appeared in a couple of the shows now. So yeah, you know, but so she may not be the film icon as she was in The Matrix. But
Yeah.
the Trinity character it's immortalized.
Yes.
With that first film alone, to say what you will about the sequels, that one film alone.
Dodge this. Bang! I
Love
love
it.
that scene. Love
Yeah.
that scene.
So now here's an underdog for female action heroes, and I'm going to Lord of the Rings. And within Lord of the Rings, there are quite a few interesting, strong female characters.
Yeah.
But only
I wrote this bit down too.
only one of them really gets tucked in to the fight,
Yeah.
and that is Miranda Otto as Eowyn.
Yes.
And
She does.
she is one of my favourite characters throughout the Lord of the Rings. And at first, she's introduced as this woman who is born, you know, from royalty, who loves Aragorn
Yeah.
and wants to be with him, and is shunned by him. He's like, "I'm sorry, I love someone else. I can never love anyone
yeah,
else."
Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler, of course. But
Tyler.
again, Liv Tyler is great. She's a strong female, but she doesn't really do that
Action.
much action-wise.
Yeah.
Elwyn, on the other hand, is told by the king, "You can't go and fight. I'm leaving you back here. You're a woman."
Yeah.
And she's like, "To hell with that!" And she gets on her own horse
Joan
and
of
rides
Arc.
into battle. Joan of Arc, yeah. And at the same time, I love the fact that she grabs, I think it's Mary, and Mary was also
Yeah.
left behind because he was too short.
Yeah.
And but he wanted to be with his friends. And Erwin and the two of them ride into battle together, and I thought
fight
that
scene
that was
amazing.
great.
Underdog
And at the
story.
same time, you know, the Lord of Nazgul flies in.
The Witch King.
The Witch King devastates the king, and he stands there and he says, "No living man may hinder me." And then you
That was
revealed
very
that it's a woman,
Yeah.
and she kicks his fucking ass.
That stab to the face is
And it's
awesome.
like-
That's just as
Yeah.
good as the flamethrower in the.
Exactly.
And
It's
the
like
nest.
that just completed her arc. It just made her amazing. She's the one who kills the main villain of Lord of
Yeah.
the Rings.
Yeah.
No one, and you never saw that coming unless you read the book. But
Yeah. If you read the
Several
book.
times.
but her speech as well. Her speech is just great, and the whole moment is fantastic. So yeah, I think she deserves an honourable mention for sure to
See,
go
I
go up there.
I was going to write the lady down, but I forgot to. The elf from the Hobbit trilogy, who falls
Yeah.
in love with Philly or Killy.
Yeah, it was Evangeline Lilly who I remember from Lost who played her.
She was really good.
She was great. Yeah, she was
Fight
great.
sequence at the end of the Hobbit trilogy.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I've only seen them once.
See now, Linda loves them, and will love and loves watching the behind the scenes stuff. So I was watching Evangeline Lilly practice for a certain fight sequence, in a couple of the shots, she failed to duck at the right time, and the guy cracks her in the head.
It really hurts that. It happens to me in
Everybody
crap.
rushed on set, but at the same time, she's just like, come on, I need to get this.
I've got to shake it out.
Shake
your
it
head.
off and just remember which way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that woman knows how to take a hit.
Yeah, it's horrid though.
And then you go and watch her on screen, and you're just like, that's a strong female lead there.
Yeah.
Sliding down a.
She hasn't had
stairs.
many major roles in action, but yeah, she did very well. I was always a bit worrisome of her character of Kate in Lost, which is where it was her breakout performance.
Yeah.
She still held it together. She held the character together, and she transformed. I forgot it was her watching the Hobbit films. So to her acting credit, she brought that character alive.
Yeah.
It made you care for her her growing feelings for a Hobbit.
Yeah.
And as to whether she could actually fall in love with a Hobbit. And I was suckered into that love story.
She falls in love with a dwarf, not a hobbit.
Yeah. Sorry.
She falls in love with Philip.
I've been drinking.
I know, but he was quite lush there.
He was.
Give people nightmares.
Okay, I'm going to bring up another underdog character, and I think I probably should have scratched her off the list.
Really?
Because she's a bit too tropey, and it's Dina Meyer from 1997, played the character of Dizzy in Starship Troopers.
Action star.
She's not been big in the action genre.
Too niche.
Wasn't
very
she in
niche,
Devil's
but
Advocate?
To be
Keanu Reeves.
I know.
to have a mass impact.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in a film where the only other main female character was the pilot, the girl from Wild Things.
Yeah.
But she was the otherwise only other female character in the film that was on the same level as the machoism that was portrayed by the men in the film.
Yeah, she was
It kind of just shown that it didn't matter if you were a man or a woman. If you were in this environment, you were almost, you were part of that unit. It was
pretty much a Ripley character. She did just, she had the gun. She was able to shoot the bugs, but she was too wrapped up deep in the love for Rico.
Yeah,
so
like I said, she turned into the trope of the love interest, the non-love interest, all the same.
Yeah,
she was the
being
female
controlled
character
to a
that gets
degree.
killed off
Yeah.
to make you care for the male lead character to carry on the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a tropey, but I remember that character. I remember that she kicked ass, and I remember she died in a blaze of glory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She gets that tank right in the face with the grenade, and you're just like, yes!
And then all of the bugs just stab her multiple times.
not
Her
gonna
prolonged
die.
death sequence. It's one of the better ones of the losing of that character. Yeah, it made it memorable. Her character is still memorable, which I'm again giving her an honourable mention. Really, I'm kind of scraping the barrel here now when I'm about to bring up Kick-Ass, 2010 hit girl. The character of Mindy McCready by Chloe Grace Moretz.
She did.
She was what, 12-year-old, foul-mouthed, ass-kicking.
Kicks ass.
Yeah,
Kicks
I
ass.
didn't enjoy Kick-Ass. I really didn't enjoy Kick-Ass too. But it was one of those moments when the entire cinema was just kind of in shock of her language and then the bloodshed that followed.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I kind of just enjoyed Super.
Yeah.
And this kind of just didn't. It was the wrong blending of it for me. Grant, I super successful comic book, super successful film. It didn't talk to me, and so her character just felt gimmicky, and it felt like it was pushing boundaries and it was challenging to its audiences, but it didn't do that to me.
But she made her
It
character
was
believable.
just to another section.
Yeah.
You believed in her character a lot more, which meant you would believe in Kick-Ass. I understand, obviously, enjoying Super more,
Yes.
but at the same time, that sequence where she walks into that hotel room, how well timed was all that and filmed? With that blade, I'm just like, that girl can fight. That girl can clear a room. I have to see Kick-Ass too. I've got it on DVD and I've had it for like 9 months and I still haven't watched it.
Really?
Yeah, I need to get round to it.
Yeah.
But
Well, I've only got one more on my list, and this is the one that I kind of was infatuated with, fell in love with.
okay,
Underworld, 2003, Celine. Kate Beckinsale.
Yes.
I've said it before. I'm a big fan of vampires.
Yes.
I love her
Yeah.
hair as well, from a
The
female
hair,
perspective.
the outfit,
Yeah.
her mannerisms, her
Her
dead
thought
facade, but then the
processes,
fact that she was her thought,
self-control.
Once again,
Yes.
that girl can kick ass.
absolutely, and the franchise is still
can.
going. I to be honest, I still haven't seen
She
the
makes the
fifth
right
film.
decisions.
Yeah, the most recent one, Blood Wars, I think it was.
It's on my list because I you know.
It wasn't Kate Beckinsale in the third one, was it?
It wasn't, no, and I actually enjoyed the third one
Who
quite
was
a
it
lot.
in the third one?
It was I can't remember it, but it was the prequel story of the werewolves attacking the vampire fort, which I think was great.
Yeah, but it just set up the whole Celine character, which worked more into Kate Beckinsale's favour
There you
because
go.
she's able to come back and pretty much do a Mila Jovovich and replay the same character. Right, we'll just stick you in there, CGI the monsters in, throw you around, blah blah
But
blah
it's
blah.
pleasant.
It sets them up as action stars.
Yeah.
You know, the story around them might be a bit weak, but you're there to see these women kick ass. You said you're coming to the end of your list. Now,
That literally was the end, yeah.
I noticed you hadn't touched into the Asian cinema market there, Gary.
Well, I was considering these blockbusters and world renowned. In terms of my experiences as well.
See, I was just going with action stars. Females that had been in action.
See,
movies.
no, I'll also say like Lucy Liu in Kill Bill was an awesome villain, and
Lucy
man,
Liu
it
is-
was a spectacularly beautiful fight with the bride. So
Yeah.
but she's not the lead, and that's not her film.
But still,
But the
And I'll be honest, my experience of Asian cinema as well is a little weak, because at one point I had Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon on here because
yeah,
from my
Michelle
memory,
Yeoh.
Michelle
Oh.
Yeoh was great in that film, but
Yeah.
I'm
Along with
I
Zhang
didn't-
Ziyi as well. I mean, we're talking that their history in films over in the Asian market is they have worked in the action series. Like we said, with Michelle Yeoh, Crouching Tiger,
Well, those are very martial arts orientated movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Zhang Ziyi as well. I know you're not a big fan of it, but I did enjoy her in Rush Hour 2.
Ugh.
She does get her ass kicked by I think it's Chris Tucker. But
Yeah. I've
still.
not seen it, and I couldn't make it 10 minutes through the first one.
As an action star, she made the parts believable. You've got to also love Devon Aoki.
Yeah, I remember her
Sin
from
City.
Sin City, Mutant Chronicles. But she's not the star of these films. She's just a character that's in them. And I don't see her as being
Some of
even
the
in the same
sequences,
league
though,
as some of these others that we've mentioned.
Made the
that's
scenes.
that's how I remember her anyway. So, yeah, no. She's not a female lead, which most of the others have been.
Cynthia Rothrock from the China O'Brien series.
You're going to have to educate me.
She's an 80s martial arts star, and you had the China O'Brien series, which started with the first one, where she returns to her hometown and her father dies, and she has to take on the local gang. But martial arts galore all over the place. That's what we're talking female action stars as well.
Doesn't sound like a star to me.
What
I've
about-
never even heard of a single film.
Oh, see, we're gonna have to add them to the list.
What about Margaret Robbie in Suicide Squad?
Margot Robbie in Suicide Squad is she is
She
interesting.
does
She's
kick
very
ass.
much playing on her
Yeah.
sex appeal
She
massively,
still kicks ass though.
and
But
she's
she really
an
genuinely still
anti-hero,
kicks ass.
and she does kick ass.
Yes.
Yeah. So much so that I think she's getting her own standalone movie off the success.
deserves
She was pretty. She
And
almost became the
Wonder
central
Woman's
character
looking
to Suicide
interesting as
Squad.
well.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is still not out yet.
I was gonna say Gal Gadot,
Yeah, Gal Gadot.
strong
She's got
female
a chance.
character.
Yeah, she was the one who surprised me the most in Batman vs Superman. I thought she would be the weakest element, and it turned out she was one of the better elements of that film.
Yeah,
So
I'm
hoping.
I love the woman from
I am
Fast and
hoping it's
Furious.
good.
I love her from Fast and Furious, and then watching her turn up as Wonder Woman. I'm like, new action hero, everybody. Watch her. She's gonna come down and just be those bracelets. That moment she hits the bracelets. Oh,
Do you reckon she'll be Wonder Woman for at least 10 years? You think DC will keep going?
well, depending on how well they work the story around her.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. A lot of these female action leads are are really good because of what they bring to the screen, even though the story around them is not as strong.
Well, I'm looking forward to Charlie's Theron again in Atomic Blonde. Have you seen the trailer? Just for pure fight.
Yes, Charlize Theron. She is. We've already said she is amazing. But I'm afraid
her character doesn't look like it's earned it like her character in Mad Max.
But it doesn't tell you this backstory.
It's
so
like
you
John
not
Wick.
yet.
I feel like it's John Wick for girls.
Maybe, yeah. I'm remaining skeptical about it until I actually see it.
But it's Charlize Theron as well. Like I said, she's pretty awesome.
In an indie.
But didn't she do Aeon Flux?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was one of the worst things I'd seen in a long time.
Aeon Flux and Ultraviolet at the same time.
Ultraviolet, oh my gosh, that was even worse. That was even worse.
Oh, I love a female special agent though.
See, that's it. You got to love these
when it's done right.
Yeah, when it's done right.
Do you have any more on your list?
Man,
I pretty much exhausted.
We've gone right through most of the list. I'm pretty stressed out.
What I can honestly say is that I was surprised when I was making my notes for the segment of the podcast as to how many female action stars there were. Because when I generally think of that genre, it is the males that usually come to mind.
Yeah.
The fact that there was this many on the list, spreading back from pretty much the early 70s right up to today, and the amount that we have today is good. It is showing a good diversity in films, and what I like is that Dan O'Bannon, when he wrote the script for Alien, he left all of the characters in his story genderless, and I think that is a great concept for any screenwriter who's trying to write female characters, is to write a male character and then cast a female. I don't think it matters too much because the female actress can bring to it the feminine qualities that might not be there in the script to define that character. And I don't think that the archetype of male action hero should be male action hero. It should be equal gender. And films today bring different aspects to a film. When you watch a male lead, you expect certain things. And when you watch a female lead in an action hero, you also expect different things again. And having both just means we're getting more, and we're getting to see more of human characters within these roles, whether they are stupid, zany action films, or whether they are thought-provoking character pieces in action films like John Wick, and maybe like the one you've just mentioned, Atomic Blonde.
Yeah. For having a female lead, I've always found gives it that extra edge. I've always felt a little bit more on edge when there's a female lead.
Do you think that as a male, thinking of protecting the female more so?
I think that
because that's how the horror genre plays on it. Is
looking at the males and knowing that they're going to make it through.
When you look at going back to the horror,
when you look at the guy on the front cover, there's a high chance he's going to make it all the way through to the end.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. With the horror genre, you look at it and you just go, well, the female will survive, and because it's within the horror genre.
Yeah. But you've got to. The problem with the horror genre, and obviously this is why we didn't add it into the action segment, was they are usually the damsel in distress for a long period of time, where a lot of the females on our lists were action heroes all the way through the movie. Say what you want about Mila Jovovich and the Resident Evil series, when that woman's flying around on wires, putting in the time and effort to leap out with two guns and just blast all over the room. She's putting in a bit more effort than, say, Neve Campbell.
But
in
her character at this point is no longer afraid of what she's up against.
It doesn't matter when you come to a female action movie.
Well, when it's
you're wanting her to, like we said with Scarlett Johansson and the Black Widow. You expect the Black Widow to do certain things. So when it's, like I said, when it's a male action star like John McClane, another Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
You kind of expect John McClane to do certain things. Give me a female lead in that part.
Are you suggesting that women are less predictable?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot more dangerous. When a woman goes running into a room, guns blazing. Have you seen Salt? With Angelina Jolie when she runs up the stairs, jumps over the
They go in with intent
railing.
and precision, don't they?
Yeah.
you know.
Some of these action stars, it really looks like it hurts when they get hurt and you get hurt. You know, the audience gets hurt. You watch a movie with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, takes the hit, keeps on going.
Do you think that it's because they go against the typical feminine? And that's what makes them seem slightly mad?
Slightly mad. Well, yes. And bringing us back to, say, Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver in Alien Terminator, when they're protecting their children, well, there's no stopping them, is there?
And when they each have that respect for each other, that iconic moment.
Right.
You know, where the Queen and Sigourney and that's what made it horror, psychological horror.
Yeah.
From a female perspective, they were equal psychologically. And in the strength of like their motherhood, do you know what I mean? It's brilliant.
Mothers, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this segment of the podcast, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back in the third segment answering your questions. Welcome back to part 3 of the podcast, everyone. This is where we answer your questions.
Yes, I like this part.
And the first question's coming in from Craig Hall. Hey, Craig. Craig got a long question for us, and it's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
And he says, considering all of the remakes that are so prevalent in America the last decade or so, what classic movie would you like to see remade, assuming that it wouldn't be an utter travesty? And which actors or actresses would you cast for it?
Which classic movie?
Yeah, he wrote classic, and so that made me actually think I'm going to go with exactly what you've written and chose classic. And for me, one of the classics was The Blob. And The Blob was remade, but now I think it's ready for its second remake. And I love the original Blob film. I really love the 80s version of The Blob. Yeah. I'm so surprised, Ian, why we haven't reviewed it yet. I've been nagging you to review The Blob with me since we started. It's one of those films I want to review.
See, I say to you about doing classic movies, and you're like, oh, no, we don't want to go back there. We don't want to do that. And I'm like, The Blob's back there. Steve McQueen, The Blob, that's classic.
I want to talk about both of those films. It's one of my favourite. It's so Lovecraft awesome. In its nature as well. You know,
it does the whole cinema sequence so much more scarier.
Yeah.
The whole kid in the sewers.
It. So my stipulation for the 2017 remake of The Blob would be practical effects only. Bring in the best people to do the practical effects. I want The Blob, whether it's miniatures and whether when it's full action, I want the gore upped, but just a notch from the last remake.
You're going to need a little bit of CGI. Because what you need, is the gore, the special effects on the gore. So when this thing,
no, I'll tell you what I would do is what they promised and what they failed to deliver with the Thing prequel was that they said we're going to do it all practical and touch it up with CGI. Yeah, that was their promise. They failed because they ended up doing 90% CGI and the practical effects were abandoned. This Blob. Yeah. I'm going all practical effects and then some CGI. That's how I would do it. And I'm going to appeal to the gore hounds of the previous remake because that gore terrorized me as a child. Yes. I'm hoping to do the same for the next children generation that watch the film before they should be in a Blob remake. So my cast, I had to think about it quite hard because I have no idea where to begin with casting. So I went with one of my favourite actors, Sam Rockwell, who hasn't really had a huge break in cinema. He's lots of bit roles here and there, but I always love his eccentric performances. And I would cast him as the sheriff character who kind of doesn't at first believe what's going on, but soon realizes what's going on, and he's the one who gets the authorities involved. Yeah. And then I would bring in the scientist who maybe is familiar with it, and the scientist character I'm going to cast Sam Neill as an older guy now, and I think his wisdom, and usually the scientist character turns out to be pretty villainous, wants to capture it, study it, but I want him to be also a good guy,
and he'll die in a really horrible way.
And die in a horrible way, yeah. And to capture the younger audiences, I want Daisy Ridley. I know she's too famous with Star Wars now, but I want to see her in a horror movie with the Blob. I like Daisy.
Daisy Ridley. Yeah, she'd be brilliant.
But playing alongside her, I would cast Evan Peters.
Evan Peters.
Now, if you're a fan of American Horror Story,
Okay.
you'd be familiar with him. But if you're also a fan of the X-Men films, he's also turned up as... Damn it, I forgot his name. The Fast...
Quicksilver.
Quicksilver, there we
Quicksilver.
go. Quicksilver.
Oh,
and I
nice.
think that's his big film breakout. And everyone loved his performance as Quicksilver. Maybe not so much with Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great actor. And I've seen his range in American Horror Story. So I would cast him in the Blob remake too. He's cut his chops in horror. He can sell being terrorized by a blob and make an audience believe the blob is real. I think he can do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there you go. So
yeah,
that's my
yeah.
choice for a remake of a classic. I want to, The Fly has had its remake and it's
coming
being
for its
remade
remake,
again. It's time. The Blob needs to be there too.
Yeah.
The Blob owed its due.
Mine's so much more serious than yours.
Go on, what would you
Sure.
remake?
Because I think it would be one of two, but they're of the same genre.
Okay.
And if we're going back to classic roots as well,
Classic.
I'd want to do Rebel Without a Cause
Yeah.
Nice.
or Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, a more
But
modern
I want
adaptation.
unknown actors, and I want them to drive the script, and then I want it to be set in an urban estate, and I want the
Did you say
same
an urban?
themes.
How about an American urban or a European urban?
No, I want it to
Or-
be British social
Okay.
Yeah.
realism.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So London? Set it in London?
West
Yeah.
London,
Yeah.
or
Rebel
it doesn't
Without a
matter.
Cause would be an
Rebel
amazing
Without a
film to
Cause,
remake.
or
But who would you cast as a modern...
I want unknowns.
unknowns,
You
yeah.
just
I
go
want
for-
it to
just
stay
go for
really
theatre actors.
true
Yeah.
and
You know.
indie, and I want it to come from the kids.
I mean, especially with
I
something
want
like
it to come
Romeo
from
and
the
Juliet.
kids.
I am a big fan of the Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes.
Weren't they relatively unknowns back then?
I think Leo was just on the cusp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the very-
You know,
it
Claire
was
Danes was
pre-Titanic.
making her transition from TV to
to
film.
Terminator 3.
To Terminator 3.
Yeah,
But Romeo and Juliet, it's such a timeless story.
it
know.
is, and that's the thing. I want young people to be able to claim it, but I want them to use it as a vehicle to show the
Would
rest of us what
you-
their world is like.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the story has been told in lots of different forms outside of it being called Romeo and Juliet. Would you keep, in your interpretation, would you keep the Shakespearean dialogue?
Yes,
Totally. Just so
Totally.
like the Baz Luhrmann one.
totally,
Totally.
absolutely,
That
But-
would work
Okay.
absolutely.
very well.
Yeah.
That would work very
How
well.
could you not? His words.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go on about it.
Ian?
See, now I hate remakes.
Well, sure, but that's
I
why the question
really
specifically
do.
states
I really
you're
do.
guaranteeing that it will be successful.
But that's the funny thing, is that successful remakes, if you knew it was going to be successful, you could just do anything. Now, like you said Rebel Without a Cause, and that immediately, for some reason, took me to A Streetcar Named Desire with Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Successful remake. Going from there, like you said The Blob, bringing back The Fly, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Yeah.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah,
I'd
that would
love.
be pretty good.
I'm pretty sure there were some straight
Strong
to
women.
DVD
Yeah, strong women. right
Attack
there,
of the
Daryl
50-Foot
Hannah.
Cheerleader, and I think there's been a few of them.
But going crazy, if I could promise that a remake would be successful, Police Academy. I would remake Police Academy.
Yeah.
That is just. Yeah,
Who's your cast? It's an ensemble
Oh,
cast,
man,
so
oh,
you
man.
can go from everywhere.
Yeah, The Rock would be in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
what do you
come
keep
Oh,
casting
you
The
know
Rock?
what? It'd be like Adam Sandler.
Oh,
The
no,
Rock,
no,
Kevin James. I'm
no.
selling this to you, Sandler. Ben Stiller.
Oh.
It'd be just the whole Tina Fey,
already killed
Melissa
it.
McCarthy. They'd all be
Don't
in
care.
there on the line.
I don't
having
care.
to go through the different
Turned it
things.
into an Adam Sandler movie already.
There'd be 6 of them. There'd be 6 of them. They go all over the world.
All right, next question comes in from Linda Buckingham.
Hey, hey, honey.
And she has a question for the podcast. You have done a diverse range of films so far. Old, new, horror, comedy, foreign, action, sci-fi, drama,
Yeah.
even chick flicks. But I don't think you have done a musical yet. Rocky Horror doesn't count. So, I propose West Side Story. Are you game, Gary? No. Next question. Oh, if you want to add something, Ian.
Well, we've discussed this, and musicals is just not in his forte of films. And I'm like, well, they were released in the cinema. They're right up there with like Sharknado. The Colour Purple.
I have no problem with musicals
there
existing.
We go. Romeo and Juliet.
And I will be honest, and I have a background in theatre. I performed in the Wizard of Oz musical, an Annie musical, a Night at the Music Hall musical.
You had like Vietnam flashbacks.
And I really treasure the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Once More We're Feeling.
He does.
I thought that was an amazing piece of television.
So you've changed your mind? You
no.
want to do West Side Story? There you go, Linda. Woo, woo.
No. But I do not go out of my way to watch musicals. There has been musicals over the last few years that have won Oscars.
Yes.
And personally don't give a fuck.
I wouldn't personally watch Mamma Mia.
I'm sorry.
But if somebody said, Ian, I want to see your opinion about Mamma Mia, I would sit down and watch Mamma Mia and then record myself in front of the camera reviewing Mamma Mia as a film production, as I do with a lot of films. Musical for me is like a genre. You got horror, sci-fi, action,
I love Bollywood.
Musical, Bollywood, you've got the whole Indian network of films over there. But at the same time, putting on par, West Side Story's got a background with Romeo and Juliet.
Tommy. The
Who.
I would review the shit out of that film. Quadrophenia, I would review that. The Yellow Submarine.
So you're saying yes to musicals?
Musicals that I can understand, have experience with, grown up with, been touched by or affected by or enjoyed the music I can talk
crazy.
about. But when it comes to musicals like West Side Story, it is not my forte
like Little
in
Shop of
any
Horrors.
way. Little Shop of Horrors, I was told it was great. I should watch it. I brought the DVD and I watched it. And when it finished, I was like, I'll probably never watch that again.
Rick Moranis
Granted,
is amazing in that.
I love the actors in it, and some of the songs are memorable. But I would never really watch the film again. I would rather go and watch a stage production of it.
So what you're saying is you would review a musical along the lines of
I would only
But West Side
I fear
Story,
for the video's quality if I were to talk about a musical that means nothing to me and means something to a lot of people. I know a lot of people love musicals. Obviously, they're winning Oscars.
Yeah.
And people treasure those movies personally. And if I were to make a video which says, I don't give a fuck, how personally am I going to attack a bunch of people? And I just don't see the point in making videos about me talking about films and musicals that's going to upset people more than entertain them.
Yeah, you dug yourself right out that hole.
I guess so.
Smoothed over, it's like grass growing and daisies and buttercups. It's like a meadow. All right,
I hope so.
Well done.
See, so Linda, West Side Story for me, it's. I don't want to do it. I would research it. I would watch the film and talk about it. But I don't know if anyone's going to like what I have to say about it, and I don't know if I can make it entertaining or at least informative to those that do. And at the same time, I also don't know how big of an audience Off the Shelf Reviews has that is interested in musicals.
I
test the water.
I think we're testing the water. I've said we need to do Wizard of Oz. We need to do Moonwalker. That's a great musical. I like Moonwalker.
Next question comes in from Laurie Condon, who
hey, Laurie.
has a whole bunch of questions, as he usually does, which is fine. We'll read them all.
How many this time?
Well, I think there's 5.
Oh.
The first
Thanks,
one,
Laurie.
I think quite a few of us can answer quite quickly.
Yeah.
Have you ever been into a drive-in movie before? And I've never had a drive-in movie experience. Justine, you had a cinema experience that was more inclusive than most.
I went to Secret Cinema.
Exactly. And so I guess that's as closest to an all-enveloping experience, unlike a drive-in.
I've been to the outside cinema down at Royal William Yard.
Yeah,
and I saw more of the Battle of the Planet of the Apes down there.
Yeah, but not a specific drive-in, like old-school American style.
We sat through that god-awful fucking drive-in movie, remember that time? The Australian one, where the kids get locked in the drive-in car park. and they kind of lived there for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And it turned into like Mad Max in the drive-in. That was a horrible film. But,
yeah.
But not personally. Haven't
No.
actually been in a drive-in.
So, second question is, if Ian and Gary were ever to get into an MMA cage match, who would win? Well, why do you want to know this?
Yeah. I saw this question. I'm like, really?
Now, my simple answer to this is, if we were to break this down into superheroes, Ian would be the Incredible Hulk, and I would be Spider-Man. I would be fast and agile, and I would be able to avoid Ian for quite a while. But eventually, the Hulk's only got to land one punch, and then it's fucking KO to whatever he hits.
See, it's all the wrestling I watch.
Yeah.
You know? I just, the pedigrees, the DDTs. I cage a lot of anger up. I try not to, physically put myself out there because people find me intimidating anyway. It's quite scary some days, but at the same time, I'm just like, it's how I was, born into existence. And if we were in a cage and the two of us were made to fight,
It's like the wrestler this, Ian.
what was that movie where the two friends had to fight for money? Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills,
If it got down to Cheap Thrills, it would be bloody.
It would be messy.
It would be bloody. And if I could upload the 3 Stages of Hell match that Gary and I had back in the day when we were filming wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, so the next question is... and
For
it's
Patreons, that will be available.
Maybe.
Download next week.
I'm so embarrassed. It's such an old videotape. Anyway, next question from Laurie is, and this is a deeper question than some of the other ones, is, have you ever had a cinema experience that changed your view on life in a profound way, even if it was only temporary?
See, I thought about this question. We were looking at this one earlier. 25th Hour.
25th Hour.
25th Hour was the first film Gary and I actually ever went to the cinema to watch, and it was a pre-release.
Yeah, it was an advanced screening.
It was an advanced screening. It's got Edward Norton in it, Stryker from X-Men 2, Brian Cox,
Philip Seymour Hoffman,
and I think is it Dandy Newton playing his girlfriend?
I think so. Yeah,
absolutely amazing film, and I remember we came out and we just couldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah. It was for me, it was Edward Norton is just a phenomenal actor anyway, and so almost any one of his prime movies, American History X, Fight Club,
I was going to say American
25th
History
Hour,
X, Fight Club, they changed me.
Yeah, even Death to Smoochie, you know.
Is it The Illusionist he's in, or
The Illusion? One of those two, wasn't it? They came out at the same time.
Yeah, that was good.
But
the Hulk.
Well,
yes.
The first 3
Down
films
in
that we
the Valley.
mentioned, Down in the Valley, yeah. Edward Norton is a phenomenal actor, but yeah, 25th Hour, it was his fuck you speech in the mirror that was just so profound, and it was just so liberating at the same time.
Yeah.
So on the cusp of the political correctness that ensued pretty much after this film. It was amazing, and the film's ending as well it just left you leaving the theatre in such a disarray, your thoughts all over the place.
Yeah.
That's the power of filmmaking. Yeah, very good.
I
Yeah.
remember
Platoon did that to me as well.
Platoon, yeah.
Oh.
I guess the horror. I guess
I grew up a little. It's films that
was it the
make you
first
grow up
Vietnam
a little
film
bit.
you saw that was
I
that
can't
then
remember
shaped
whether I saw that one or
your
Apocalypse Now,
vision
but
of
that one
knowledge of war.
hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt.
Yeah. For me, it was almost any of Darren Aronofsky's
Oh.
early
Oh.
films.
God.
Pie, Requiem for a Dream,
I could not watch it.
Fountain.
The
Fountain, yeah. Just,
Requiem I can't watch again.
I said
couldn't
that.
watch
I'll
Requiem.
never watch Requiem again.
No,
Even if it's
not me neither.
Patreon requested, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I cannot talk about this film. I
Cannot.
don't want to watch it again. I do not want to undergo the same mental and psychological torment that I
for about
felt
2 weeks.
through that film.
So you're putting Darren Aronofsky movies up there with musicals?
What as the? I will
You're
talk
putting them
about
on the
some
shelf.
of Darrenofsky,
You're
but I
putting
just
them on the
different kind
shelf.
of
as much. I just can't. I just can't watch
West Side
that film
Story
again.
or Requiem for a Dream?
I'll choose Requiem for a Dream.
Really
You know what? Because I understand Requiem for a Dream. I got it. It made me feel the way I felt. Yeah.
Well, you just requested it. Jeez.
Okay, back to that
You've gotta
aforementioned
do it as
cage
well.
match.
Yeah.
Would you post it to YouTube? Well, yeah, and you kind of just answered that with the other bit, which I'm skipping past.
If I could.
If you could. It's on VHS tape, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping that format dies soon.
Oh no! I'm gonna encase it in a little Perspex box, bury it.
And the last question from Laurie is, please, Gary, will you say the word boobies? I think I just said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Next question. Alexander Kirik says, hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Why are reviews of European films, Italian, French, Spanish, scarce on your channel? Is it the Patreons? Or have you too little insight into foreign language films?
Ooh. Right.
Well, yeah, you're cutting right to the bone there, Alex, and I'll be honest and say the answer is both. Yes, our Patreons. We've only had 1 or 2 Patreons request a foreign language film, which is great.
Yeah.
And my experience of foreign language films is scarce. Pretty much,
But that's the point of the show.
I've enjoyed
isn't it?
a lot of the Japanese horror films, French horror films, and I've seen quite a few Italian horror films.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about them. I've never really looked too deeply into them. I can say that some of the French horror stuff I thought was striking and memorable and a bit over the top. Switchblade Romance I thought was a groundbreaking French horror film.
I think Marches is supposed to be even better.
Marches, I thought I lost it. It was the girls get skinned alive and they're still existing without their skin. And
Spoilers.
Sorry, yeah, it was gore porn. I put that in the same vein as Hostel in a way. It didn't work. It just didn't. It lost it.
We've discussed this, and obviously foreign films work when you know what's going on. And the problem with it a lot of the time is the subtitles.
Well,
trying to keep the subtitles
like City of God and La Haine and
trying to keep the subtitles in sync with the videos so that the audience member knows what's going on takes a lot more time than what you think it would to get it all to work. So when somebody says, "Oh, can you? I'm requesting this amazing Italian movie from 1972." Which you can only find on VHS in the corner shop of some town somewhere because all of the reels burnt down in a mysterious fire. It's just like, yeah, we'll get on that.
Right.
We'll look at that film. But I'm always open. I'm always saying to Gary, we should do more.
You are.
We discussed Bollywood movies earlier at one point, and Gary's face just lit up with joy at the mention of it.
Only because they're remaking Rambo right now, and it looks fucking insane.
They're remaking Rambo. I mean, we want to get diverse. We'll watch an Indian Rambo movie.
Is Diamond Dust.
Henry Kwan has asked, do you guys enjoy Marvel and DC comic books?
Yes. On and off.
On and off. I'll be honest and say I've never really read a Marvel or a DC comic book, but I've watched a lot growing up of the cartoons. That was where I got it for me. I couldn't afford those comics in Plymouth.
Yeah.
The closest I got to comic books was the Beano and the Dandy growing up. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Beano. X-Men, there was no comic store. And, X-Men comics were not on the stores next to the Dandy and the Beano. So I had nothing. So I had those.
Yeah.
So growing up, I'm not a major fan of comic books, but I appreciate them. And what I have done, and I'm going to plug another channel here, but Comics Explained on YouTube, he is phenomenal. He is the one channel on YouTube that you must go to if you want a history in comics.
Yeah.
And he covers DC, Marvel. He explains the alternate timelines. He explains the reboots.
The whole universe.
The multiverse.
Yes,
He's
the
got your back.
multiverse.
He
Yes,
will
the
cover it,
multiverse.
ins and outs of characters from the comic books. And that, because I can't afford those comics, I can't start a collection right now. I don't have time to read them right now. So I'll go to his channel when I want to find out about what happened in the New 52 Batman.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about New 52 Batman until his channel explained who it was. Where he explains the Crisis Wars, the Infinity Wars, all the stuff that's going on in the Marvel universe and how it worked in the comic book.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I don't read them, but I'm getting massive insight into all of those stories through that channel. So I'm appreciating them in that way.
Yeah, see, I don't need to read them. I read them for a while during my teens, and had bought specific graphic novels to my taste. But then I started to notice the pattern, and the pattern was that, the main characters wouldn't die off. Or if they did, there was some strange way that they ended up coming back. And it keeps the universe alive. I like that. But then you look at the franchise business in it. You've got all the different comic books. You've got all the different graphic novels. You've got all the different games. You've got all the different TV shows. And so then when somebody says, hey, look, They've got Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Daredevil and Jessica Jones on this channel. And over here we've got Gotham and we've got Green Arrow and possibly
The Flash.
And all these.
And the X-Men has got its own. There are a lot of TV shows, and that leads into the rest of Henry Kwan's question.
Yeah.
Which is, have you been keeping track of the Netflix Marvel shows, and are you excited for the upcoming Defenders show?
No.
Have you watched any of them?
No.
Justine, have you?
I have dipped in and out, but I can't say that I've become addicted to.
Yeah, it's filler.
But what I have
it's for
seen,
binge watchers that want more superheroes.
Loved.
Yeah.
In my defence, I didn't have a lot of time to watch it. I just had enough time to watch Hawaii Five-O.
There is a lot.
And wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, and play video games.
Choose, you have to
I can
choose
say
your
for
time.
comic books, if there's only one comic book I'm reading, it's The Walking Dead. With the Marvel Netflix shows, I watched Daredevil season 1, loved it, sung its praises. Same for its season 2. Jessica Jones, I enjoyed about a third of its season.
Yeah.
Luke Cage, I skipped. He was a character that appeared in Jessica Jones. I like Jessica Jones, but I just thought some of the episodes were a bit weak, and they didn't keep me as engaged as Daredevil did. Luke Cage was a side character in Jessica Jones, and I felt he was weak in Jessica Jones. I wasn't too interested in his story. So I'll be honest, and I skipped Luke Cage. And I went back with Iron Fist, and I stopped watching after 5 episodes. I was totally bored and lost interest.
The problem
and so for for Defenders, I have some interest because I'm only really interested in 2 of the 4 characters. I'm really waiting for Daredevil season 3.
The problem I have, and I'm being completely honest, you're looking at a show with the main character's name on it. He's pretty much going to kick ass all the way to the end.
Well, same for all 4 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But now they're forming the Defenders.
Yeah, but
so they're all
for
together.
Me, when somebody says like, "Oh, this, Luke Cage is really, really good," I'm like, "Well, of course, it's Luke Cage. He's pretty much indestructible."
That's what they do.
Can
They
walk into
make
a
the
room and
battles
beat the crap
bigger,
out of
aren't
everybody.
they? Yeah.
It goes along with the films, and you'll be able to link them into the film series and have them fight the bigger battles. Keep you entertained for 12 episodes and then another season and another season.
I will check out Defenders, but I'm only holding up so much hope for it. Who knows? If I'm surprised, then good. So the next question comes in from Aaron Gardner, who says, "What video game would you like to see get the movie treatment next? I recently played Mafia 3 and thought that the story was incredible."
Yeah.
The first video games that jumped to my mind that haven't been turned into movies yet, and they're slightly oddball choices, but they were the first ones that came to my mind, was XCOM and XCOM 2. It's an alien invasion, but it takes place with military sort of skirmishes across the globe.
Yeah, I can see it.
So it could almost work as a series. I see it as a series of 3 movies. And considering with XCOM 2 as well, you could take it where we lose the war, aliens take over, and then it's guerrilla warfare to finally take back the planet from these aliens.
Yeah.
We know XCOM 3 is in development. I want to see interesting stories with soldiers against aliens.
Do you follow the base though, or do you follow the squad? Because
I want to follow the base and the squad. I want to see it from the science perspective, from the soldiers' perspective, from the civilians' perspective, from how the aliens take over the world.
That's why sometimes
I see more of a TV show.
Doesn't translate.
Yeah.
Because you're there's a degree of being the master of your own destiny when you're playing games, whereas it's somebody else's decisions that inform film, isn't it?
Yeah, which my next choice is The Witcher. I think it's the most incredible video game ever for story.
Yeah.
I love Geralt, The Witcher. I love the characters in that world. Yeah. CD Projekt Red did an amazing job. Did you know that The Witcher 3 is still it sold more this year or last year than it did the year before. It's still selling really well.
Yeah.
The word of mouth is still spreading. It's an amazing game. The Polish did turn it into a TV series and a film with the tiniest budget ever.
We should review that.
And it's terrible. Okay? It needs the blockbuster treatment. So long as they get the casting right, the theme of The Witcher right, so long as the game developers are on board and help shape it so that they don't do something silly with it.
Yeah.
Love to see The Witcher.
See, what about Dead Space?
Yeah. I've said
Space
before, Dead
movie.
Space. I want John Carpenter on board for that Dead Space.
Yeah.
But that would be a great one. Yeah.
I'd also like to see Streets of Rage, the movie. Two cops, Blaze and Adam possibly, and just walking down the streets beating the crap out of people, just to get to the final boss. Yeah.
It's a pretty
Streets of
straightforward
Rage.
film.
Yeah, Streets of Rage. Copyright.
Paul Doyle. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
He says, when will you guys be doing the making of Off the Shelf reviews? Be nice to see the hard work you guys do behind the scenes. Great show.
Well, it's hard enough trying to do off-the-shelf reviews, let alone trying to do the making of. That's mainly just all the guffs and guffaws and messes up. There'd be a lot of swear words from both of us,
We have compiled nearly 6 years of possible outtakes.
Really? I did delete all mine.
Well, all the raw footage is still there.
Oh, shit. That's a lot of raw footage. And it's at the same time, sometimes we just scream and shout. We have such problems with technology.
I think it'd be an interesting video, but I don't know if it'll be. It's not that exciting. Maybe to a few of you it will be, and maybe down the line we will do a. Maybe when the evolution of how we've changed our preparation for each video.
If it ever gets to the point where we aren't allowed to show footage, we'll just drop raw, unedited videos.
Yeah.
Of all the sneezings and the coughs, the switching of seats and the fluffing of pillows.
Yeah.
And the swearing about what we did the day before and why the fuck did we watch this film? It's so terrible. It's pretty hilarious, actually.
Okay, so Marcus Back asks, was there ever a movie that you decided to review, but it turned out to be too weird, strange, fucked up, or worse?
Hey, Marcus. There's a few on the list that we sometimes look at for a laugh and then turn away. Like, I could say Irreversibles in that one.
Yeah. But it's like, do we really want to talk about Irreversible and make a video
about it? It's an amazing, dark, French, crazy, artsy movie. But
camera rape scene.
Yeah.
Ooh, that.
Do we just pixelate the whole screen for most of the review? And just say, watch this at your own...
It's sin for it.
Experience.
It's torturous.
It is torturous.
There hasn't been anything yet where we've actually just said no. Things
There's never been anything too weird, strange, or fucked up.
Yeah.
But there was one review that we watched, made notes for, and never recorded, and that was Dead Rising Endgame, the follow-up to Dead Rising Watchtower.
Oh God.
And I don't think we'll ever go back to it. Enough said.
I've said we have to. I have the notes in my pad written down of how I felt about that movie when Gary said, let's review it.
And then after watching it, I said, let's never discuss this film ever.
Ever.
It
Let's just
was
do
so
something
bad.
else. And I'm like, what? So I think we should go back to see it because I'd like to see your reaction on camera. But we'll have to talk about that.
Now, speaking of bad reactions, here comes another bad reaction.
Okay.
Thoughts? This is from John Smith.
Oh, hey, John Smith.
Who says, thoughts on the long-rumoured Dredd sequel, which isn't happening, which is now becoming a TV series. Carl Urban has not been guaranteed the role of Dredd. The new show is Judge Dredd Mega City 1.
Keep Dredd alive. Keep Dredd alive.
Well, it's
keep
great
Dredd alive.
to that extent
keep
that Dredd is
alive.
still going in some form, not film, but now TV. This is the same reaction I had when Ron Perlman has denied Hellboy 3.
Yes.
Hellboy is being rebooted. Carl Urban and all the fans wanted him for Dredd 2. Now that's not happening. It's now Dredd Mega City 1 TV series. Granted, there's lots of interesting things. I mean, they've said this is the chance to tell Dredd's story and the other judges' stories as other stories in Mega City 1. So the scope is open for more stories from 2000 AD. But it's not Carl Urban's Dredd.
Dredd is violent. That's what makes Dredd so good. It's violent. And the film worked because you were able to go, hey, this is an 18-hour rated movie in 3D. And Dredd goes in there, SWAT team style, taking people down like he should do. You should keep Carl Urban and go for a TV series, but fund the next movie. And just keep Dredd alive. I have always enjoyed Sylvester Stallone's performance, but I will admit him taking off his helmet was a big no-no.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big no-no, but still, riding around on little hover bikes, using the lawgiver, then you get to Carl Urban. I love all the games. Keep Dredd alive. Keep Dredd alive.
Well, it's definitely being kept alive in one form or another. Next question is from Jack Hawkins.
Hey, Jack.
what are your favourite and least favourite reviews that you've both made? Mine, to be honest, is the earliest videos before we introduced ourselves as off-the-shelf reviews. That was when it's your hosts, Gary and Ian.
Hey.
You remember that?
Yeah. I remember that.
So the Feast review, Cockneys versus Zombies, John dies at the end. I think they were our weakest videos, and so
I wouldn't mind
pretty much my
reviewing
least
John
favourite.
dies at the end again.
So the
movie's
earliest
awesome.
ones perhaps are due the off-the-shelf treatment in a way.
We should redo Riccio.
The story of Riccio.
The story of Riccio. That
Yeah.
movie is. But the old ones, Dead Rising Watchtower was just. That was a difficult review.
Yeah, I know you hated that film, and so yeah.
Tekken, horrible films on there. World War Z.
It was one of our first cinema reaction
I enjoyed
videos.
World War Z when I came out of the cinema.
And now you hate the film.
I was blind. I was really blind. I have to go back and watch that video. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I praise it.
Yeah,
And
I think you did.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to bring us into our next question from Ruben Morales,
Hey, Ruben.
who says, how about movies you didn't like at first, but grew to love over time? My first and immediate reaction in answer to that question was Alien 3. I, like everybody, was gutted and devastated and pissed off when that film came out, and all of your favourite characters from Aliens are dead.
Yeah.
And it's done in a heartless, brutal way, and on top of that, the film sucked.
Harsh.
Today, I love Alien 3.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's an amazing piece of cinema, despite all of the problems 20th Century Fox gave. David
prison
Fincher,
setting.
the prison setting, the characters, the bleakness, the depressing feel of it.
Yeah.
Everything that I've said in the Alien 3 review, but that is honestly one of those films that I hated and now love. My only other answer to this question is The Big Lebowski. The first time I watched that film, I thought it was garbage. I was like, what did I wasted 15 quid on this DVD. I'm never going to watch this film again. And it was only because, like, 3 years later, I was still so pissed off that I spent so much money on a film I hate. I'm going to watch it again and be damned to get my money's worth.
Yeah.
And now, as you know, I watch this
Absolutely
film
love it.
every single year. Even if I don't get to watch it, I at least listen to the soundtrack several times a year. Love The Big Lebowski. So those are the only two I can think of that I hated and now passionately love.
See, I think it's only black and white for me. I either really love the film or really hate it.
And never really changed your mind.
And really never changed my mind, because the first time I watched a film, if there's points that niggle me, it doesn't matter how many times I watch that film afterwards, those points are never going to change. For example, RoboCop 3.
Yeah, okay, it sucked then, it still sucks now.
It still sucks now. 12 Monkeys. That movie was amazing the first time I watched it, and then the second, third and fourth time, it was still really, really good. I just learned more.
Yeah, I definitely say you get more appreciation for films that you admire as a kid, but maybe not necessarily understand why you admire, and then as you grow up, you fall more into it. For me, Blade Runner was similar. The first time I watched it, I was like, I understand something great has happened, but I don't understand it.
Blade Runner is a good example, because my argument always is that he's human. It's because the first time I watched it,
it provokes conversation.
it
creates atmosphere.
he was a human noir detective hunting down these guys.
Yeah.
And then the multiple times you watch the film with the added dreams and the ultra layers, I'm like...
But I like comedy as well that adds layers. So Zoolander. I can watch those comedies over and over and find different joke and a different little thing that becomes my new favourite.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's very. I mean, because I'm literally going by what from pure love to, or pure hate to pure love. And
Yeah.
there's not that many.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It
I
is.
usually just hate the movie as soon as
Straight
I get
off
in
the
there.
bat. Yeah,
Straight
never
off the
really
bat,
change your
and it
mind.
never really changes.
I think
I'm curious to see whether Alien Covenant can change my mind, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Next question is from George Lee.
Hey, George.
And he says, okay, movies you love, but others hate. Alien 3.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of hate for that film. I know. People tell me every day in the comments section that I'm stupid for liking Alien 3.
We get told off for not liking Alien Covenant.
Well,
That just shows how diverse the Alien universe is, but still.
I really liked Prometheus, and I know that got a lot of hate, and I also really liked Chappie. I like Chappie quite a bit, and I know that received quite a bit of hate as well.
It's not as good as District 9.
No.
But it's not to be hated on. I've always loved Be Kind, Rewind.
Yeah, I
love the
didn't
concept,
hate
but
that.
not the
I thought it,
film.
yeah, again, yeah, you're absolutely right. I like the concept.
It's the fact that the comedy was there. You just had to find it. It's the same with Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
You know, I love Cabin Fever.
True. I hate it.
And people, I know Gary hates it. And I'm just like, how can you? It's right there.
Next question's from David Binmore. Hey, David.
Hey, Dave.
And he asks, what is the greatest movie fight scene? And I'll be honest,
it's a lot.
There are so many. There are so many, and none of them are wrong. None of them are right, you know? It's you're all going to have different opinions. And so I'll be honest, and I'll tell you my first genuine response was Rocky IV.
Dolph Lundgren and Rocky?
Dolph Lundgren and Rocky, for me, immortalizes, you know, David and the Goliath. It's the underdog story. It's man versus machine. It's, you know, Dolph Lundgren destroys Apollo in the beginning of that film.
Yes.
And sets himself up as the immovable object. And it is total cheese fest. I know it. I know this. But the film builds up to that fight the entire duration of the film. I mean, the film's only like 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's Rocky the montage.
Yeah, it's a lot of montaging. But that
fight sequence, I just loved it. I still do. It's the way that it's the way the Russians get behind Rocky throughout the fight.
There's so many.
There are so many.
Just jumping on
another
fight
great
sequences.
Fight sequence in a movie for me is, we've mentioned her already, Sigourney Weaver, Ripley versus the Alien Queen. It's an immortal face-off in film. Absolutely. And we've mentioned Arnie versus the Predator. And just, you know, it's the whole fight sequence, the use setting up of traps.
Yeah.
The whole final sequence to Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee versus Han.
See. I was just thinking all the martial arts movies as well.
So
Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Is the mirror sequence is quite short. But it's the fact that, you know, they've got that whole fight sequence outside with the claw hand. And I'm thinking, all Bruce has to do is hit you. So in movie standard, I'm going to just let you go. Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee.
Yeah, that was in Enter the Dragon.
That's it. That's Game of Death. No,
was it
Game of Death? Because that's on the island. And they fight in the Colosseum with Chuck
That's
Norris.
right. Yeah.
Donnie Yen in Ip Man.
Yeah.
When he takes on those 15 guys.
Yeah. I was blown away by that fight sequence.
Anything by Jet Li as well. The fight sequence between Murtaugh and Riggs and Jet Li
in Lethal Weapon 4.
That's a brilliant fight sequence. Riggs versus Gary Bushy, Lethal Weapon. That's a
the greatest movie fight sequence of all time. Ian goes Lethal Weapon 1.
I'm leaping. I'm just.
I know.
I'm scotching now. I'm just thinking of awesome fight sequences.
There are so many to choose from.
Neo, Agent Smith.
Yeah, Neo, Agent Smith. What, Matrix 3?
Matrix 3.
Yeah.
It's an epic fight.
It's a bit too epic. I don't know, but I picked Rocky 4, so what can I say?
Any Godzilla movie.
That's
a lot of good fighting.
Next question is from Matthias.
Hey, Matthias.
Who says, you guys ever considered using a straw poll on Facebook for future reviews? Then all the shelfers can help decide. Super easy to set up a poll. You can put up your question, and then within 2 days, everyone can make a choice, and then fan approved next review.
Well, we have a list, and obviously we work as professionally as we can. But patrons do become prioritized.
Yes.
So we set up to do a film that one of us thinks is a really good film to do, and then all of a sudden, you know, a patron comes along, requests a film, and that one takes priority, and it throws the list off. And sometimes it's a case of, well, we could put it out to the shelfers, the audience, but there's such a list. So many comments you see, will you review this, will you review that? I saw somebody's really, really wanting us to review The Wraith with Charlie Sheen.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really? There are amazing films out there, you know, things like The Departed, Gangs of New York, Titanic. Just, we could go animated movies and just go crazy, like do.
The list is endless, and I have to say, we do get inundated with "Can you review this film? Can you review this film?"
Yes.
As questions, and it's like, well, the answer to all of those questions is yes, but when is another matter. I just said, yeah, we'll prioritize Patreon requests,
Yeah,
and then we do take into account every comment and every request. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, if we've not reviewed the film that you want to and you're not a patron, request this film every week. It's the only way, because eventually we'll keep seeing it and we'll be like, let's review it.
Yeah,
and then we won't get requested it anymore.
If we see a film request and it's got 80 likes on it, people are like, request this. It's like, okay, that film's noticeable. Why does everybody want us to request Pretty Woman? You know, why did they want us to watch that? Or Erin Brockovich? We got 120 likes on Erin Brockovich. What?
Next question's from Erin J. Who says, here's my question for your next podcast. If you could have one and only one superpower, what would it be? And what would you do with it? And you cannot pick a platter like Superman's powers. One power.
Oh, this is a toss-up between... Actually, I've got 3. X-ray vision, super speed, or a reset button.
What the hell? Which superhero power has reset button
It's just one I've completely just thought of right now. A reset button, I can go a day, and if anything happens in that day that, you know, needs a reset...
So you're looking for the Groundhog Day
I can
button.
reset to the morning of that day and still retain the memories.
Interesting power.
Yeah.
So it's kind of time travel, or...
Yeah, you know, reality altering.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go for the reset button.
Would you retain the same memories as all...
speed.
Super speed? With super speed, you could probably go back and redo that same day.
Yeah, if I was doing a Superman.
I think I'd just keep it really simple and just go for real invisibility.
Invisibility is good. What would you do with invisibility though? Would you be the super spy?
Well, I could choose how I felt that morning.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Would it just be you, or would it be everything that you're wearing?
Everything that I'm wearing.
And you'd be able to
And
touch
people that I could
objects and
touch.
put people that you could touch. Yeah. Oh, stop time would be good.
Yeah, stop in time. See, mine, I'm stuck between flight. You know, I want to be able to fly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you dream of flying. It's Superman flies.
Yeah.
You just want to fly. It's like isn't it the most coveted superpower?
X-ray vision, dude.
Hey, what would you do with X-ray vision?
What wouldn't I do with X-ray vision?
You're disgusting, Ian.
Just see a skeleton.
Yeah, but you could be able
Do you
to
want to see a
magnify.
skeleton?
You'd be able to magnify the lenses.
I would also love the mind
right.
reading ability. I think
Mind
that's
reading.
I think that is an incredible superpower. Mind
Would you
reading.
have? Is that telepathy?
I mean, I'm more like Professor Xavier.
Yeah, telepathy, because telekinesis is the one that you can
You
use.
move objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reading minds.
Reading minds. I think that's got to be all powerful.
What, like, scanners.
Scanners, yeah.
We haven't done the Mike Ironside movie yet.
No. Okay, final question. It's from Jake Sutcliffe.
Hey, Jake.
And Jake asks, love the channel, guys, and I look forward to your reviews every week. My question for the podcast is, if you could live in the universe of one movie for a whole month, what universe would it be?
Wow.
Now, jokingly, we were looking at trailers to discuss for the podcast, and one of the ones that I ditched talking about was the newly released Baywatch. And
Yes.
of all of the films that immediately sprung to mind as exciting film universes to go to, I was like, I probably wouldn't survive in those universes for very long.
Yeah.
You know, you'd like, let's go to the Dawn of the Dead universe and hang out on the mall and then get eaten by zombies is the reality of it.
Yeah.
Let's go hang out with the Marines in LV-426 and then get cocooned
Killed
and
by
raped
aliens.
by an alien.
Let's go to
so
the
that's probably not
Jaws
a great
universe.
place.
Get eaten by
Let's go hunt a shark. Oh, it's not
we
that.
just figured you die a lot.
Yeah, it's like in all of our greatest movies, those universes suck.
We wouldn't generally survive, but Baywatch
Yeah,
it seemed pretty safe.
pretty safe. You got lifeguards everywhere.
Yeah. Well, the Rock's right there, you know, and that
That
did
is
make
your imagination.
well that did make me think. What about the Last Action Hero universe? The movie they go into,
Yeah.
Arnie's movie.
where everything is just super film-like. See, if I was, other than Baywatch as a joke answer, if I was interested in going and exploring a universe for a month, I chose Blade Runner. I know it's my favourite sci-fi, so I'm going to pick it for lots of answers for questions.
Yeah.
But I just think that the film itself is interesting because of its universe, and because with more Blade Runner, you want an expanded universe within that. I think it's interesting. I like the overpopulated nature, the fact that all animals are dead and replaced with robots, the introduction of...
It's not very cheery, is it?
It's not very cheery, but...
It's raining and dark.
It's not a holiday, is it, really?
No, but I think it would be an interesting place to explore for a month.
Would you... So you would
That's
explore,
survivable.
and you wouldn't actually be specifically a Blade Runner or
No. Just exist in that universe.
Exist in that set universe. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Wild
West, that would be.
Yeah, Westworld.
Yeah, see, but that's it. A lot of them end up in you dying.
Yeah.
So you just want to try and avoid anywhere where that actually where you'd end up as a bloody mess on the floor. She's just like, okay.
Yeah, I want to go to the Serenity universe and then get held up by lawmen or get raped and murdered and stuck to the bridge of a ship by Ravagers. It's like, it's maybe not a great place to go to after all.
See, you'd think you'd be safe.
Let's go to Star Wars territory, and then get turned into a rebel slave or an Imperial scumbag.
You might be safe in the Star Trek universe.
Let's get fed to the Sarlacc pig.
But as the Star Trek universe gets more violent,
you're killed by the Klingons.
They check your red suit, you're like, oh, what? No, really?
So all these lovely universes are just so dangerous. I'm like, no.
Maybe you need to do a musical.
Yeah, I'll go. Oh no.
I know he says survive a month. How long do you think you could survive in the Final Destination universe?
Well, as long as I stay away from anyone who has premonitions of horrible things happening, and should do okay.
should do.
As long as the month, right? They got to avoid death for the rest of their lives.
Well, there was that woman in Final Destination 2 that was safe in the padded cell.
Yeah, until the sequels broke the continuity of that anyway.
Ruined it for me.
Sorry. It's alright, you were only watching the latter of those movies just to watch crazy death sequences.
Yeah, the story just kind of ran out the window.
Yeah. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this podcast. I just want to say thanks for listening, everyone. We're back next month with episode 7, talking about James Bond. Of course, film reviews on Thursdays, game reviews on Fridays. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Patreon. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time.
Peace out.
Bye.